Chapter 81. Su Xiaoqiang became the center of attention because he had comprehended the death battle technique left behind by the Death Battle King. The mighty officer who walked out from the crowd was Jiang Gongqiang, the vice commander of the Battle Tiger Battalion, one of the most powerful battalions in the Barbarian Suppression Army. Jiang Gongqiang was a top-notch general and a top figure who had the potential to become a king within 10 years. If he was a few years younger, he might even be able to participate in the battle for the position of young marshal. Apart from Jiang Gongqiang, the vice commander of the Battle Dragon Battalion, Hong Yilong, also walked out and said, "Kid, come to our Battle Dragon Battalion. This commander will personally lead you to kill the enemy." These two battalions were the most powerful battalions, each with tens of thousands of soldiers and horses. Their combat strength was incomparably powerful. Those who were able to join these two battalions were all proud because these two battalions did not need any mediocre people. "This kid is a lucky bastard," the surrounding soldiers all exclaimed in their hearts. Everyone was a soldier, but there were different grades of soldiers. The lowest grade of soldiers belonged to the logisticians, who could only work in the rear. The middle grade of soldiers belonged to those who could enter the battlefield and were considered the backbone of the battlefield, such as infantry and heavy armored soldiers. As for the cavalry that could travel thousands of miles to raid the battlefield, advancing and retreating at will, attacking and defending at will, they were the truly powerful soldiers such as the Battle Dragon Battalion and the Battle Tiger Battalion. Every soldier hoped to be able to enter the battlefield and kill the enemy. They all hoped to join a powerful battle group. Not only did they take pride in their individual strength, but they also took pride in the strength of their battle group. Among the different types of soldiers, the cavalry would always be the most respected, the most popular, and the most meritorious. They also had the highest chances of promotion. It could be said that as long as Su Xiaoqiang agreed, he would become a member of these two strongest battalions. His future would be limitless. Su Xiaoqiang looked at the two vice-commanders with extraordinary bearings and hesitated for a moment before saying, I am already a member of the Death Legion." "So what if you are a member of the Death Legion? As long as you agree, we can immediately help you complete the procedures and join my Battle Tiger Battalion," Jiang Gongqiang said domineeringly. "Jiang Gongqiang, this is not how you snatch people. You have to ask my battling dragon camp first," Hong Yilong replied. He then looked at Su Xiaoqiang and smiled. "Kid, join my battle dragon camp. My battle dragon camp is the first camp. We can provide you with the best armor, combat weapons, and even combat skills." "Hong Yilong, you're too shameless. When has our Tiger War Camp ever lost to your Battle Dragon Camp? Whatever you can offer, our Tiger War Camp can also offer," Jiang Gongqiang said angrily. "Sirs, please don't argue. I won't join your battle camp," Su Xiaoqiang interrupted them. As soon as he finished speaking, he felt two strong oppressive auras rushing towards him, almost causing him to collapse on the spot. "Since I've obtained the battle skill of the Death War King, then I should stay in the Death Army and become the next Death War King," Su Xiaoqiang said with the demeanor of an expert. In fact, his palms were already sweating. He was afraid that his words would directly anger these two lords. The two deputy commanders hesitated for a moment and did not force him. They left with a disappointed expression. As for the surrounding people, they also cast Su Xiaoqiang a look that said, "You don't know how to appreciate favors." Of course, Su Xiaoqiang's name would also be noticed today. This was because he was the second person in 10 years to obtain the battle skill of the Death War King. However, after the crowd dispersed, Su Xiaoqiang looked at his palm and saw a faint black line. He smiled bitterly. Although he had obtained the battle skill of the Death War King, the price he had to pay was not something that others could imagine. He put away his palm and walked towards Yang Wu and Shou Ho. He looked at Shou Ho provocatively and said, "See? I've already obtained the battle skill of the Death War King. It's much more useful than your broken staff. This was a blatant display of strength. Shoho snorted and replied indifferently, So what? Do you really think that you're invincible just because you've obtained a battle skill? Why don't we compete now? Shoho's confidence had risen since he obtained the broken staff. He was no longer as submissive as he was in the prison field. Let's compete then. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Su Xiaoqiang replied. You're both so powerful. Why don't you fight with me together first? Yang Wu rolled his eyes at them. This time, the two of them did not dare to speak. They had already seen how powerful Yang Wu was. Who would believe that Yang Wu was only an advanced warrior who could even kill an intermediate general? Some people would even believe that he was an advanced general. Both of them had gained something, but they could not be compared with Yang Wu. Perhaps one of them would dare to say that he was above Yang Wu after becoming a battle king. Yang Wu said in a deep voice, I still have to comprehend other battle skills. If you're bored, you can leave first. After saying that, he ignored the two of them and walked toward the second battle skill tablet. Shoho glared at Su Xiaoqiang and silently followed Yang Wu. Su Xiaoqiang did not follow because he had already been fawned upon and befriended by other people. He was already enjoying it and had a smug look on his face. The second battle skill tablet was engraved with 1-inch punch. This was a warrior-level battle skill. The incantation and person diagram were not displayed like the first tablet. Instead, the warrior had to sense it himself. If he could resonate with it, he would be able to cultivate this battle skill. Many soldiers came to the battle skill tablet and touched it. Then, they released the divine court realm and circulated the battle art to resonate with the fist technique. A warrior-level battle skill was not an advanced battle skill, but not everyone could obtain it. At least half of the soldiers present had not obtained a single battle skill. With my aptitude, I can't even obtain a warrior-level battle skill. That's impossible, a soldier said unwillingly after failing. Another person exclaimed, Haha, that's great. I obtained the incantation and person diagram. The disparity between the two of them was huge. One was despised by others, while the other was envied by others. Even if it was a soldier-level combat skill, it was still a life-saving trump card for a soldier. Yang Wu and the skinny monkey-like figure squeezed to different positions and touched the battle skill steel. A strange power was transmitted to their palms, and they unconsciously released their divine court. The mystic arts in their bodies began to circulate, trying to see if they could resonate with the battle skill steel. When Yang Wu circulated the Supreme Nine Mystic Formula, his divine court realm immediately felt a cooling sensation. Then, a passage of the incantation entered his mind. There were also people diagrams flashing, explaining the essence of each punch. Soon, Yang Wu's divine court record was imprinted with the incantation and person diagram of the 1-inch punch. The mystic qi in his body unconsciously flowed, emitting a unique aura. The surrounding people looked at him in astonishment. They could not help but sigh softly. This kid is quite lucky. He actually comprehended the incantation of the 1-inch punch so quickly. Some people could obtain the incantation of the 1-inch punch in 2 to 4 hours. Some people could only have such an opportunity after sitting for 2 to 3 days. There were not many people who could obtain the incantation as quickly as Yang Wu. As for Shoho, he did not cause any commotion. However, his eyes blinked with a red light, looking very strange. Soon he saw everything on the battle skill tablet clearly. He did not miss anything. Looks like my strange eyes have quite a lot of benefits, Shoho said proudly in his heart. If others knew that he was born with strange eyes, who knew how many famous teachers and experts would fight to take him in as a disciple? People with such extraordinary talent were always favored by the heavens. Their path of cultivation would definitely be smooth sailing and extremely easy. After Yang Wu released the battle skill tablet, he glanced at Shoho and asked, Did you gain anything? Shoho nodded with a silly smile and said, Somewhat. Then let's go to the next tablet? Yang Wu asked. Big Brother has the final say. Shouho nodded and said. The two of them continued to walk toward the third battle skill tablet. A veteran said, You two youngsters really think that the battle skill tablets are cabbages that you can pick up as you wish. Don't be too greedy. That's right. Other than the weapon fist that everyone can learn, very few people can obtain more than 2 of the other battle skills. Only those commanders or major generals have such talent. Another person said. Very obviously, they were warning Yang Wu and Shouho not to be greedy. That would be something that would return empty-handed. Yang Wu and Shouho both pretended not to hear them. They still squeezed onto the third battle skill tablet and used the method just now to comprehend the battle skill tablet on this battle skill tablet. Shouho was just putting on an act. In reality, his eyes flashed red from time to time. He had already obtained the battle skill tablet's battle skill tablet. His heart was already blooming with joy. As for Yang Wu, he didn't have his ability. However, the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula was incomparably magical. As long as he circulated it, the battle skill tablet's battle skill tablet would resonate with him, causing the profound chi glow released from his body to appear exceptionally different. The person who had just spoken to Yang Wu and Shouho exclaimed as if he had seen a ghost when he saw this scene. Damn, he actually obtained another battle skill. Could it be that my eyes are playing tricks on me? This brat has gone to hell. This is the tyrannical collapsing mountain palm. Its power is no small matter. Many people want to learn it but can't. Another person said sourly. Obtaining 2 battle skills in one day. Although the level isn't high, it's possible to at least have the position of 1,000 feet long in the future. Another person said enviously. However, what happened next made them even more dumbfounded. That youth who had obtained 2 battle skills didn't have any intention of leaving. He continued to lead his brothers towards the 4th battle skill tablet. Very quickly, the 4th battle skill tablet also resonated with this youth. This 12-wind chasing swords battle skill was obtained by this youth. The youth didn't stop his steps, nor was he affected by the envious voices of others. He went to the 5th battle skill tablet and successfully obtained the 5th battle skill, Chaotic Horse Galloping Attack Saber. When the youth went to the 6th battle skill tablet, everyone was already so shocked that they didn't know what to do. When the 6th battle skill tablet's battle skill, Blazing Cross Spear, was successfully obtained by this youth, the scene was suddenly in an uproar. Chapter 82. 5 years ago, someone comprehended 6 battle skills in one go, and that person eventually became the young commander at that time. Unfortunately, when this young commander was about to break through to the king realm 2 years ago, he was ambushed by the barbarian king and died in the end. Otherwise, this young commander legend would still be alive today. Now, after 5 years, someone finally comprehended 6 battle skills at the same time. The speed was even faster than the previous young commander, and his future was limitless. For a moment, all the soldiers exclaimed one after another. It's only been 2 hours, and he actually comprehended 6 battle skills on the battle skill steals. This is definitely not real. This can't be fake, right? He resonated in front of every battle skill steal. It's really too heaven-defying. Who is this young man? He looks very unfamiliar, and he doesn't even have a decent set of battle armor. Could he be like the kid who just comprehended the battle skill of the Death Battle King and belonged to the Death Battle group? If that's really the case, then it's a pity. No matter how they guessed, it didn't stop someone from rushing in front of the youth and excitedly saying, "Little brother, are you willing to join my Boo Battalion? My Boo Battalion can immediately arrange a position for you as a centurion." The infantry battalion was the battalion with the largest number of people and was the backbone of the battalion. Although it couldn't compare to the Battle Dragon and Battle Tiger battalions, it won in terms of numbers. The unprepossessing man in front of him was a deputy commander of the infantry battalion, Gu Changzheng. He looked at Yang Wu as if he was looking at a stunning beauty and couldn't suppress the excitement in his heart. Without waiting for Yang Wu to reply, another tall and strong woman rushed out and said, "Our heavy battalion needs a genius like you to join. I can accept you as a personal deputy commander. In the future, when you surpass me, I can be your woman and give the position to you." This tall and strong woman was 6 feet tall, much taller than the average man. She was dressed in full armor and carried 2 axes on her back, looking incomparably valiant. Who said that women were inferior to men? This woman in front of him was much stronger than men. She was called Nan Runan, a deputy commander of the heavy battalion, and her combat strength was even stronger than Gu Changzheng. Just as they finished speaking, Hong Yilong from the Battle Dragon camp and Jiang Gongqiang from the Battle Tiger camp appeared once again. They had also joined the ranks of those competing for Yang Wu. Apart from that, some of the vice commanders of the Divine Bow unit and the Scout unit also asked for him. These deputy commanders usually came to the battle skill tablet when they had nothing to do. Their goal was to find new blood and recruit them into their battalions. Today they really found an unpolished gem. "Little brother, how should I address you? I am Hong Yilong of the Battle Dragon camp. My Battle Dragon camp is the first camp and has the strongest combat strength. Only by joining my Battle Dragon camp will you be able to obtain a higher position. In the future, it won't be a problem for you to be conferred the title of Marquis. Bulsh *T the 1st Battalion. Our Battle Tiger Battalion is the 1st Battalion. Not only do we have Tiger Riders, we also have high-level combat technique. As long as you are willing, I can immediately make an exception and recruit you as a talent that will be heavily groomed. In the future, you will be able to compete for the position of Major General. As long as you don't die, you might even have the qualifications to become a Major General. Little brother, these 2 battalions are just saying nice things. Our Divine Bow unit is the best in archery. With your comprehension, as long as you comprehend our Divine Bow unit's number 1 archery technique, you will be unparalleled in the world. Our Scout unit is the best in concealment technique. Little brother, if you join us, we can make you the number 1 untraceable scout. It will be easy for you to make a name for yourself. The various vice commanders were all praising their respective battalions. It was like they were competing to buy vegetables in a market. They were so enthusiastic that it almost scared people away. Su Xiaoqiang, who was surrounded and greeted with enthusiasm, was instantly left out. He looked at Yang Wu, who was surrounded, and felt a little uncomfortable. He said, "Can't this guy keep a low profile and let me be in the limelight first?" In fact, no one knew that other than Yang Wu, there was another youth who had also obtained 6 battle techniques on the battle technique steel. However, this youth was very low-key, only looking at Yang Wu being surrounded and laughing foolishly. This youth was Shouho. Shouho was different from Yang Wu. He did not rely on comprehension to obtain the battle techniques, but instead used his other pupil to obtain them. However, no matter what method he used, as long as the results were the same, it was fine. Yang Wu faced these people, his face without the slightest ripple. He only cupped his hands and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Many thanks for everyone's praise. I am just a newly arrived prison slave soldier. I have been sent to the Death Legion, so I am unable to follow everyone's wishes." "What, you are actually a prison slave soldier?" Jiang Gongqiang of the Battle Tiger unit cried out in surprise. "It's absolutely true." Yang Wu nodded in response. "That would be for the best. I will give you enough military merit to immediately rid you of your status as a prison slave soldier and join our Battle Dragon unit." Hong Yilong was the most direct to say. In the end, the others all said the same thing at once, all expressing their willingness to help Yang Wu settle any future worries. Yang Wu also did not expect such a situation. He only wanted to comprehend more battle techniques in case of emergency. Now that there was a great opportunity to rid himself of his status as a prison slave, he was truly moved. However, he quickly remembered Sun Rui's words. His goal was the same as Su Xiaoqiang's, and only the Death Battle King could satisfy his wish. This was because he did not only want to rid himself of his status as a prison slave, but also wanted to restore their Yang clan's prestige and make even kings bow down to him. Yang Wu calmed down and said to everyone, "Many thanks for everyone's favor. I would like to try the last battle skill tablet." At this time, Nanrunan said in a low voice, "That is the battle skill tablet left behind by the Death Battle King. There is a brand of death on it. Even if you obtain his battle technique, there is no way to rid yourself of the brand of death. In the end, only death awaits you. With your talent, there is no need to take this risk. If you really want a king's technique, as long as you become a major general, there will be plenty of opportunities." Nanrunan's explanation of the battle skill tablet left behind by the Death Battle King caused the soldiers present to come to a sudden realization. Su Xiaoqiang looked at the black strands on his palm again and clenched his fist tightly. "Brand of death? I will definitely be able to rid myself of it." "That's right, there are some things that you can't force," Jiang Gongqiang said from the side. Gu Changzheng also said, "Little brother's talent is outstanding. In the future, you will definitely have the opportunity to become a king. Why do you need this death battle skill?" Yang Wu smiled faintly and said, "Since everyone says that my talent is outstanding, it shouldn't be too difficult to comprehend this death battle skill." After he finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to the crowd and headed towards the 7th battle skill tablet. At this moment, Yang Wu and the others were destined to rise overnight for the sake of a new star in front of the battle skill tablet. So far, only 2 people had comprehended the battle skill tablet left behind by the Death Battle King. One was the Rose of Death, the current king of the Death Army. Her combat strength was ranked in the top 5 of all the generals. The second person was Su Xiaoqiang. With the strength of a senior warrior, he could slash out a death attack of 5 zhang. It was truly terrifying. Could Yang Wu challenge the third person? Yang Wu didn't intend to steal Su Xiaoqiang's limelight. He only wanted to grasp more and become stronger. Everything was for his own sake. It would be funny if he died young. Someone couldn't help but sigh. Among the crowd, there were many people who were jealous of Yang Wu's talent. When they saw him walk towards the 7th battle skill tablet, they naturally hoped that he would stop before the 7th battle skill tablet. If he could comprehend both the battle skill tablet and the battle skill tablet, then he would create history as the number 1 in the army. It would make them feel even more unbalanced. Many of the commanders present wanted to see if this prison slave soldier's talent was truly outstanding. If that was the case, then they would pull him into their camp no matter what. In a few years, he would definitely become a major general or even a strong contender for the position of future marshal. Yang Wu arrived in front of the 7th battle skill tablet. After taking a deep breath, he placed one hand on the tablet. Everyone held their breaths and quietly stared at the young man's figure. In an instant, Yang Wu felt an austere killing intent in the divine court. It was as if he was in the middle of a battlefield with thousands of soldiers and horses. The swords and spears were merciless, and the murderous intent was incomparably terrifying. Every moment there were people who were killed or seriously injured. Blood flowed into a river. It was an extremely terrifying scene. He was surrounded by countless enemies and was in a desperate situation. He held the battle weapon in his hand, and the blood in his body boiled to the extreme. Dense battle intent soared into the sky as he held the battle weapon and killed crazily on the battlefield. Kill, kill, kill. He didn't know how many times he had swung the battle weapon in his hand, nor did he know how many people he had killed. At the same time, he felt that he had suffered countless serious injuries. His body was already on the verge of collapse, and he could fall into a pool of blood at any time. He felt the feeling of death. It was a kind of extreme pain. His blood flowed until it dried up, and even breathing became extremely difficult. It was as if he could already feel the black and white impermanence coming to steal his soul. "Am I going to die here?" he asked himself. In his mind, he thought of the situation where he was wrongfully imprisoned. He thought of his parents being removed from house arrest, and his younger brother giving up his official robe as the top scholar. In an instant, his heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. He didn't want to die yet. He still wanted revenge. "Die!" he roared, and the battle skill in his hand exerted an extreme attack power. There was an abnormal power on his body, allowing him to erupt with extraordinary power. Dozens of enemies around him were blasted into powder in the blink of an eye. The scene of the divine court burst open, and the divine sense returned to nature. Yang Wu was already surrounded by qi, and there was an additional mark on the ground that was longer than the one made by Su Xiaoqiang. The people around him were shocked and exclaimed, Did he really comprehend the battle skill left by the Battle King of Death? How is this possible? Genius, he's really a genius among geniuses. He has comprehended all the battle steals battle skills. In time, he will become a great person. Maybe he will be the next Battle King of Death. He looks like he's only 16 or 17 years old. He's still young. As long as he's properly trained, he will definitely be a major general, or even a candidate for a young marshal. A genius who has comprehended the battle skill of the Battle King of Death twice in a day. It's really amazing. I wonder if he will leave the Death Legion. Chapter 83. Yang Wu stared blankly at the damage he had caused. His face was full of shock. It was true that his strength was comparable to that of a general realm cultivator, but he could at most blast out 50 to 60 feet of profound energy. Shockingly, the traces of profound energy in his body had already doubled, surpassing his original attack range. Moreover, much of the profound energy in his body had also been sucked away. At the same time, a wisp of the will of death had entered his body, and it began to erase his life force. At the same time, it also stimulated his divine court and imbued it with the mark of death. What was left on this steel of combat skills was not a combat skill, but a wisp of the will of death comprehended by the War King of Death. This will of death was different from the essence of transcendence. The former was superior to the latter because it was a kind of martial will. Among the 3,000 martial daos, there was the way of death, the way of longevity, the way of fire, the way of metal, and the way of earth escape. Each way represented a different way of martial art. But no matter which way it was, they would all return to the same place. They all pursued the extreme of martial arts. Among the 3,000 great ways, the way of death was ranked very high. Once a person completely comprehended it, his combat strength would be extraordinary. However, if he could not comprehend it, he would die quickly. Right now, the will of death in Yang Wu's body was beginning to erase his vitality. If he couldn't completely comprehend the way of death or force the wisp of will of death out of his body before the will of death obliterated his vitality, he would definitely die young. In this regard, he had the same experience as Su Xiaoqiang. Most people here did not know. They all thought that this was a combat skill left by the War King of Death, and they did not know how terrifying the way of death was. Before this wisp of will of death caused too much damage to Yang Wu, the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula was activated. The 1,000 holes in the peach core dantian produced a great suction force and swallowed this wisp of will of death, so that it could not cause too much damage to Yang Wu. When this wisp of will of death was swallowed, Yang Wu could feel the will of death more clearly in his divine court. Unfortunately, this was only a wisp of will of death, and he did not have a deep understanding of it. It could even be said that he only scratched the surface. Otherwise, he would be able to completely absorb the way of death. Of course, Yang Wu was not aware of the changes in his body. He only felt that his body was much more comfortable, that was all. Battle Dragon Battalion's Hong Ilong, Battle Tiger Battalions Jianggangqiang, Heavy Armor Battalions Nanrunan, Infantry Battalions Guchongjing, and several other deputy commanders of the various battalions surrounded Yang Wu, who was still in a daze. They looked at him like he was a stunning beauty and wished they could immediately carry him home. Yang Wu came back to his senses and looked at the commanders who had already surrounded him. He wrapped his arms around his chest and said weakly, "Sirs, what do you want to do? I won't obey you even if you beat me to death. This brat belongs to whoever snatches him away." No one knew who was the first to shout, but several deputy commanders immediately rushed towards Yang Wu to capture him. "Brat, come to my battling dragon camp. He belongs to my War Tiger battalion. My heavy armor battalion is short of manpower." The several deputy commanders were all high-level generals and each of them had extraordinary strength. They simultaneously attacked as fast as lightning. Some grabbed Yang Wu's shoulders, while others grabbed Yang Wu's waist, abdomen, and even his thighs. They wanted to take him away as soon as possible. Fortunately, these people knew their limits and did not use their internal force to pull him away. Otherwise, Yang Wu would have been torn into pieces. Apart from that, they were also attacking each other, forcing others to let go of their weapons. The surrounding people were completely dumbfounded. Who would have thought that these high and mighty deputy commanders would actually fight here just to fight over a genius? When Su Xiaoqiang saw this scene, the little bit of dissatisfaction in his heart instantly turned into a thick sense of jealousy. He thought unwillingly in his heart, "Eldest Miss likes him, and now even these commanders are fighting to recruit him. Isn't he just a little stronger than me? Could it be that my talent is inferior to a low-level prison slave like him? Humph, one day I will let everyone know that you are all blind." Su Xiaoqiang did not stay here any longer and quietly left alone. Shouho had been paying attention to Yang Wu, but when Su Xiaoqiang left, the corner of his eye twitched. He turned his head and saw Su Xiaoqiang's departing figure. An inexplicable feeling rose in his heart, and he felt a little uncomfortable. Yang Wu was extremely depressed. He was being pulled by these deputy commanders, and the power of their attacks constantly streaked in front of him, making him tremble in fear. Although his combat strength was not bad, in front of so many high-level generals, it was still not enough. Fortunately, they all knew their limits and did not hurt Yang Wu in the slightest. Yang Wu did not want to sit and wait for death. Just as he was thinking of a way to break away from these people, a voice came from not far away. "What's so lively about? Tell me." This voice was extremely loud and resounded in the ears of the deputy commanders. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, causing them to stop what they were doing. A majestic middle-aged man in heavy armor appeared. He was wearing a cloak and had his hands behind his back. He looked majestic and awe-inspiring. Beside him were two guards with cold expressions. The aura that emanated from their bodies was not inferior to any of the deputy commanders present. In fact, it was even more powerful. "Greetings, General Sima." Everyone knelt down and cried out in surprise. Sima Nadu was the infantry battalion's general, and was one of the deputy commanders of the entire army. In terms of combat strength, he was not the most outstanding, but in terms of military achievements, he was not inferior to anyone. He had been at the border for a full 30 years, climbing step by step from a small soldier to his current position of deputy commander. It was not easy, and his prestige in the army was not to be underestimated. "Get up, tell me what you guys are doing here." Sima Nata smiled amiably. As the deputy commander of the infantry battalion, Guchongjing rushed out and said, "General, this little brother has comprehended 7 battle skills from the battle skill tablets in less than 4 hours. This subordinate feels that his talent is outstanding and is suitable for our infantry battalion, so I want to pull him into our infantry battalion. Now that the general is here, I would like to be bold and ask the general to bestow the position of lieutenant to this little brother, to show our sincerity and let him join our infantry battalion." This time, the expressions of the other deputy commanders did not look good. They also wished that their general was here, otherwise they would not be able to compete with the infantry battalion. "Oh, there's such a genius?" Sima Nata said in surprise. Then his gaze locked onto Yang Wu and asked, "You really comprehended 7 battle skills from the battle skill tablets?" Yang Wu nodded lightly and said, "Yes, General." "Are you sure? If you lie to this general, you will be beheaded." Sima Natu asked seriously again. Yang Wu said seriously, "Yang Wu does not dare lie to general." "Very good, from now on you are a member of our infantry battalion. Come with me," Sima Nata said with a faint smile. His words were spoken calmly, but his tone was filled with a commanding tone that left no room for refusal. The other deputy commanders did not dare to make a sound. It could be said that a higher rank could suppress people to death. They only hoped that this youth would stand firm and choose them. Yang Wu bowed to Sima Natu and said, "Many thanks for General's praise, but I am only a prison slave soldier and was just sent to the Death Legion. I'm afraid I cannot follow, sir." Yang Wu's words left some leeway. If Sima Natu could solve the problem of his Death Legion, as well as the problem of his military status, perhaps he could really consider joining the infantry battalion. It was not that Yang Wu was afraid of death, but to be able to stand at a better starting point, it would be greatly beneficial for him to revive the Yang family. "This is a small problem, Commander Gu can solve it for you," Sima Nata said calmly. Normal prison slave soldiers only needed to atone for their crimes, and their original crimes would not be a problem. Right at this moment, a cold voice rang out, "Commander Gu really can't solve this problem." Everyone looked towards the source of the voice and saw a cold-looking general slowly walking over from not far away. He was the cold-faced adjutant of the Death Legion. "Oh, your Death Legion is not willing to let him go?" Sima Nata looked at the cold-faced adjutant and asked. "It's not that we are not willing, but that we cannot." The cold-faced adjutant faced Sima Natu, who was 1 rank higher than him, and still had a cold expression as he replied. "Since the cold-faced adjutant says that we cannot, then my infantry battalion will not force it." "What a pity!" Sima Nata glanced at Yang Wu and then left with his people, not saying another word. Gu Chongjing had a pained expression as he unwillingly chased after them. He did not understand how this cold-faced adjutant could scare their general away. The other commanders knew that the cold-faced adjutant was not easy to talk to, so they were embarrassed to say anything. After glancing at Yang Wu, they returned to their battalion headquarters to find a way to figure out Yang Wu's origins, and then let the higher-ups decide whether to snatch him or not. The cold-faced adjutant looked at the calm Yang Wu and asked, "You are not disappointed?" "There is nothing to be disappointed about." Yang Wu shook his head and said, "That's good." The cold-faced adjutant nodded and replied. After pausing for a moment, he added, "The higher-ups ordered that you have to cut off 500 heads to get rid of your prison slave status. You are on your own." The cold-faced adjutant's voice was not loud, but the people around could hear it clearly. Their expressions instantly changed. Initially, they wanted to stutter to Yang Wu later, but the cold-faced adjutant's words were too frightening. Everyone knew that as long as a prison slave killed 100 barbarians, they would be able to get rid of their prison slave status and leave the military camp at any time. Now that the number had increased by 5 times, it was obvious that they were trying to get Yang Wu killed. "Looks like the person this kid offended has a terrifying background. What a pity. I still wanted to get acquainted with this kid. When he becomes a major general or a future commander in the future, I'll be able to gain some face. Looks like I can save that effort now. He is a genius who has comprehended 7 combat skill steals. As long as he is properly groomed, his future will be limitless. What a pity. Since he is so talented, what's the big deal about killing 500 barbarians? Who knows, he might even become the next king of death. I still think highly of him, but it's better to stay away from him for now." Chapter 84. The soldiers who had surrounded Yang Wu earlier whispered to each other before dispersing and continuing to comprehend the combat skills tablet. They were no longer envious or jealous of Yang Wu's outstanding talent. This was because no matter how outstanding Yang Wu was, he might still die young. If they got along with him, they might even be implicated. A bunch of snobs. Skinny Monkey walked up to the lonely Yang Wu and looked at the others in disdain. Yang Wu shook his head and said bitterly, "It's normal for them to have such a reaction. Who would want to provoke a jinx like me?" He paused for a moment before continuing, "But I'll let them know sooner or later that 500 barbarians are nothing to me." After saying that, the hidden hatred in his eyes deepened. He swore in his heart, "You guys want me to die, but I'm going to live on. Sooner or later, I'll make you guys pay the price in blood." Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey left the combat skills tablet together. At the same time, Yang Wu asked about Su Xiaoqiang's whereabouts. Skinny Monkey told Yang Wu that Su Xiaoqiang had already left. Yang Wu did not think too much about it. He really did not expect that Su Xiaoqiang would bear a grudge against him after he made a name for himself. Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey returned to the Death Legion's encampment. This legion had the least military discipline and did not have any tents to rest in. They used the sky as their blanket and the ground as their bed. This was a true legion that cultivated diligently. Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey did not mind. They had stayed in an environment like the prison slaves before. At least there were trees to shelter them from the wind and rain in this encampment. It was enough. In addition, they were already true martial artists. Meditating and cultivating diligently every night was better than sleeping. Yang Wu got Little Hay to hunt again while he and Skinny Monkey prepared to digest the combat skills they had obtained today. The two of them did not separate. Instead, they began to discuss and communicate with each other. They started with the scimitar kick. Yang Wu already had some understanding of this footwork technique, so he could become more proficient with it if he put in more effort. Yang Wu's strength was much stronger than the Skinny Monkey's, but as the Skinny Monkey gradually entered the realm of cultivation, his ability to discover problems was very strong. When he made a lot of moves, even Yang Wu lamented that the Skinny Monkey's comprehension ability was very fast. There were even some moves that he didn't expect, which allowed him to gain a lot. Skinny Monkey's gains were even greater. Yang Wu's understanding of martial arts before him. Yang Wu's understanding of martial Dao. Yang Wu. After Little Hay returned from hunting, it spat out another bird that it had killed. Yang Wu did not know how it did it. He felt that Little Hay was becoming more and more mysterious and powerful. Little Hay roasted the bird. Yang Wu wanted to call Su Xiaoqiang over to eat together, but he realized that Su Xiaoqiang was nowhere to be found. He tore off a roasted leg and offered it to Li Dazue. Li Dazue had always been unapproachable, but Yang Wu did not care at all. He felt that this man-eating fellow was not as scary as he had imagined. At most, it was a little disgusting. Yang Wu waved the roasted meat in his hand and said to Li Dazue, who was lying in the grass, "Boss, I'll treat you to some meat." There were human limbs all around Li Dazue. There was also a fishy smell. It was really hard to stay there. Li Dazue opened his eyes instantly and said happily, "Where's the meat? I want to eat meat." Li Dazue bounced up from the ground and snatched the meat from Yang Wu's hand. He first sniffed it, then looked at Yang Wu and said, "This meat smells really good." Then, he turned his head and wolfed down the meat in his hand. "Boss, eat slowly. If it's not enough, I have more," Yang Wu said sincerely. Li Dazue nodded as he ate. "It's enough. Then I'll go back. Call me if there's a mission," Yang Wu said and turned to leave. Yang Wu did not know that after he walked away, Li Dazue finished eating the meat and looked at his back. There was a faint trace of tears in his eyes. It had been a long time since someone treated him to roast meat like this. Last time, His best friend who treated him to roast meat died in the hands of the barbarians in order to save him. He was even eaten alive by the barbarians. From then on, he swore to eat the barbarians' meat raw to avenge his friend. Therefore, he became a pervert who loved to eat human flesh. From then on, no one was friends with him, let alone treat him to roast meat, and no one dared to get close to him. On this day, there was finally a kid who treated him to barbecue. He didn't know why, but his numb heart suddenly felt touched. For 2 consecutive days, Yang Wu and the skinny monkey cultivated together. They meditated at night and practiced martial arts during the day. Their progress could be said to be rapid. Yang Wu had already opened a total of 165 acupoints. He was not far from the 200 acupoints of a top warrior. The energy accumulated in his dantian became more and more majestic. Under the operation of the 12 standard meridians and the run and do meridians, it was like a river that rippled endlessly every day. His mental state was excellent. There was a wisp of the will of death in his divine court, which boosted his divine court's sensing ability. In addition, he had already cultivated Scud Kick to the microscopic stage. There was also 1-inch punch and mountain-shattering palm. He had a preliminary grasp of the incantation and the way to use the fist and palm. As for the other combat skills, he did not cultivate them. Firstly, it was a matter of time. Secondly, it was not good to bite off more than one could chew. It was better to master them one by one. The skinny monkey's progress was rapid. The speed at which he mastered martial arts was not much slower than Yang Wu's. He was becoming more and more like a martial artist. As for Su Xiaoqiang, he began to drift away from them. It was as if there was an invisible barrier that made it impossible for them to stay together. At the same time, some people from other battalions came to look for Su Xiaoqiang. They expressed that they wanted to take Su Xiaoqiang away from the Death Legion. On the 3rd day, Su Xiaoqiang took the initiative to bring 2 people to look for Yang Wu and the skinny monkey. The 2 people besides Su Xiaoqiang were dressed in armor. Each of them held a combat weapon. Their bodies exuded a thick aura of hostility. With one look, it was obvious that they were veterans who had been on the battlefield. They were like Su Xiaoqiang's followers. They walked behind Su Xiaoqiang, as if Su Xiaoqiang was their leader. Su Xiaoqiang raised his head slightly and looked at Yang Wu and the skinny monkey. He said, "I will not stay in the Death Legion. I have joined the Battle Tiger Battalion. In the future, if you have any problems, you can report to the Battle Tiger Battalion. For the sake of the young miss, there are some small matters that I can settle for you." Right now, Su Xiaoqiang was acting like a superior person. His attitude and appearance really made people a little unhappy. The skinny monkey and Su Xiaoqiang didn't see eye to eye. Seeing him like this, the skinny monkey couldn't help but mock. "Yo, who are you trying to show off to after changing camps?" Su Xiaoqiang chuckled and said, "In the past, you were prison slaves and I was a prison guard. Now I am a regular soldier. We are originally from different worlds. If it wasn't for the sake of the young miss, I wouldn't have bothered with you. Now that I have joined the Battle Tiger Battalion, it won't be long before I become a commander. I originally wanted to take care of you guys, but it seems like you don't need it." After saying this, Su Xiaoqiang looked at the expressionless Yang Wu. He felt a little depressed. He felt that Yang Wu should be fawning over him. He thought to himself, "Keep pretending. You guys will come begging me one day." Just as he was about to turn around, Yang Wu opened his mouth and said, "Su Xiaoqiang, take care. If you have the chance to see Sister Lan Xian, remember to send my regards to her. Tell them not to worry. I and the skinny monkey are doing quite well." "Who do you think you are? How dare you treat the young miss as your sister?" Su Xiaoqiang couldn't hold back the sullenness in his heart as he roared at Yang Wu. The skinny monkey immediately rushed forward and shouted, "Su Xiaoqiang, who do you think you are? How dare you scold my big brother?" The 2 soldiers behind Su Xiaoqiang took a step forward and glared at the skinny monkey. It seemed that as long as Su Xiaoqiang gave the order, they would teach the skinny monkey a lesson. Su Xiaoqiang raised his hand to stop them. Then he said disdainfully, "Remember your identity, prison slave soldiers." The skinny monkey wanted to attack Su Xiaoqiang, but Yang Wu pulled him back. Then he said to Su Xiaoqiang, "Yes, we are prison slave soldiers. You are a regular soldier. Hurry up and scram." After a pause, he added, "Oh right, it's best if we don't meet again in the future, so as not to dirty your noble dog eyes." "Yang Wu, are you trying to shed all pretense of cordiality with me?" Su Xiaoqiang said with a frown. "You still have the face to do that? This Viscount can't see it." Yang Wu rushed to look at Su Xiaoqiang and said, "Good, very good." Su Xiaoqiang's eyes were about to burst into flames. He clenched his fists and really wanted to fight to the death with Yang Wu. But when he thought of Yang Wu's strength, he suppressed the impulse in his heart and said, "One day you will regret it." After saying that, he no longer paid attention to Yang Wu and the skinny monkey. He turned around and left with the two soldiers. When they were far away, the skinny monkey couldn't help but curse. "I knew this kid wasn't a good person." Now he finally showed his true colors. Yang Wu shook his head and said, "People who walk different paths can't make plans together. Let him be." "Yes, I originally thought this kid wasn't bad. Unfortunately, I misjudged him," the skinny monkey said regretfully. During this period of time, although he and Su Xiaoqiang didn't see eye to eye, he had already treated him as a friend in his heart. Now it seemed like it was his wishful thinking. From the bottom of his heart, Su Xiaoqiang couldn't see that they were criminals, even if they were wrongly imprisoned. Yang Wu patted the skinny monkey's shoulder and said, "People are all so realistic and snobbish. Don't worry about him. When our strength improves and we make contributions, no one will be able to stop us. One day we will make the nobles do things according to our wishes." At this moment, he seemed to have regained his identity as a viscount. That confident style was fascinating. The skinny monkey was infected. He clenched his fists and said with a firm expression, "Big brother is right. We can definitely do it." On this day, Li Dazue received an order to hunt down a group of barbarians that went deep into the battlefield. Li Dazue didn't say anything and led Yang Wu and the skinny monkey to hunt the barbarians. But they didn't know that this was a trap to kill with a borrowed knife. Chapter 85. The battlefield passageway was the place where the battles between the barbarians and the two major powers of Grand Xia were the most frequent. Whoever passed through the passageway to attack the other side, it signified the start of a true war. During these years, the most famous war was the one where the Death War King was conferred the title of Marquis 10 years ago. War of Death. Back then, the Death War King comprehended the Tao of Death and became a marquis in one fell swoop. He killed many barbarians, including the princes of the barbarian race, thoroughly enraging the barbarian army. The barbarian army brought along 100,000 soldiers and a group of beasts, wanting to flatten the barbarian army. In that war, Grand Xia suffered heavy casualties. The entire barbarian army was almost flattened. If it wasn't for the Death War King's decisive attack, Grand Xia would have lost for sure. In the end, Grand Xia barely won, but that was a Pyrrhic victory. During these 10 years, the friction between the two sides was unceasing. However, it was only limited to small-scale battles, never involving more than 10,000 people. This was because both sides were recuperating, waiting for a decisive character to appear. Only then would the war truly erupt. In these small-scale battles, Grand Xia had always been the one who lost more than they won. If it wasn't for their advantage in numbers, Grand Xia would have almost no chance of winning. The barbarians were a race born for combat. They had boundless strength and astonishing defense. Usually, they could fight 1 against 2 or even 3 against the human soldiers of Grand Xia at the same level. And because of this, Grand Xia was incomparably fearful of the barbarians. They were afraid that the barbarians would cross over and threaten their status. This time, there were powerful barbarian tribe members who had quietly arrived at the battlefield's passage. They were riding on their mammoth. Every time the mammoths took a step, it was as if the earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. The barbarian tribe members who were sitting on their backs were as steady as a rock. They were not affected by the bumps at all. These tens of riders were clad in the unique attire of the barbarian race. They had feathered headbands, ivory necklaces, runic inscriptions on their faces, and different types of weapons on their back. Their tall and muscular physiques were extremely imposing. The barbarians were a race that revered martial prowess. They were also part of the human race, just that they belonged to the human race with extraordinary talent in combat. They had always looked down on the weak and frail citizens of Grand Xia. Hence, the conflict between the two countries was the root of their bloodline. Among these tens of riders, the leaders were a middle-aged barbarian, an old barbarian, and a young girl. The rest of the riders were followers. The middle-aged barbarian was much taller and stronger than an ordinary barbarian. He had a pair of sharp eyes that gave off a dignified aura. The aura he was exuding was not something an ordinary warrior could compare with. He was definitely a barbarian king. The old barbarian seemed to be in his 70s or 80s. The wrinkles on his face were as rough as tree bark. There were even some age spots on his face. However, his body was not stooped and was still very straight. His old eyes flashed from time to time. He held an ancient millstone in his hand, as if he was looking for something. As for the young girl, she was incomparably sexy. Apart from having a beautiful face, her figure was without a doubt. Her exposed shoulders were even smoother than ivory, and her ample breasts swelled up the beast's skin clothing to the point it was about to burst. Her slender waist was like a swaying willow, and her pair of springy calves were filled with moving seduction from time to time. If Yang Wu was here, he would be incomparably surprised. This young girl was actually 70 to 80% similar to Little Man, 8th Grandpa. Is your old calculation accurate? We are almost at the border of Grand Xia. The young girl impatiently grumbled. Princess Ayu, don't rush your 8th Grandpa. When has he ever miscalculated? The middle-aged barbarian looked at the young girl and smiled faintly. He has miscalculated. He said that my future husband is not the strongest warrior of my tribe. The young girl called Ayu replied softly. Haha, little Ayu, are you still holding a grudge against your 8th Grandpa for telling your marriage fortune? The 8th Grandpa stroked his long beard and smiled. He paused for a moment and said, Little Ayu, marriage is decided by the heavens. It cannot be forced. Even if your husband is not the strongest warrior of my tribe, it does not mean that he is weak. Maybe he is even stronger than the strongest warrior of my tribe. Then I will wait and see if it is really as 8th Grandpa said. Ayu replied. Then she said, 8th Grandpa, is my sister really in the Grand Xia? The 8th Grandpa narrowed his eyes as he replied, That should be it. All these years, I've always thought that the princess had passed away at a young age. But some time ago, there was a strange movement in the clan altar, which clearly indicated that someone in the younger generation of our clan had awakened the most primordial bloodline. That is the true body of the ancestors' bloodline. I've observed the bloodline of all the youths in our clan, even the newborns, but I couldn't find the corresponding bloodline shown by the clan altar. It was only until you came to propose marriage that I recalled that there was still a 16-year-old princess in our clan. That is, your twin sister might still be alive. Hence, I borrowed your blood essence and used the elephant bone plate to calculate that the missing princess is in the direction of Grand Xia. The elephant bone plate was made from the bones of a top-grade elephant king. It was then formed by various divination masters, the ancient 8 trigrams, the 24 heavenly scriptures, and the 48 geographical chi. It could be used to predict omens, determine marriages, find dragons, fix veins, and so on. This old man from the barbarian tribe, called 8th Grandpa, was the barbarian tribe's chief divination master, Huangfu Taigang. He had an extremely high prestige in the barbarian tribe and was known as accurate predictions. The middle-aged barbarian was Shur Shafong, the barbarian tribe's mighty general. He was the barbarian tribe's youngest and strongest warrior 20 years ago. He was also one of the 10 kings of the barbarian tribe who seized the position of Marquis. To be able to stand side by side with these two, Princess Ayu was naturally the barbarian tribe's current little princess, Huangfu Mingyu, also known as Princess Mingyu. In the barbarian tribe, everyone knew of Princess Mingyu. However, they did not know that there was another Princess Mingzhu, who was Princess Mingyu's twin sister. Back then, the barbarian queen gave birth to twin sisters at the same time. This pair of sisters did not even spend 100 days together before a masked expert rushed into the barbarian tribe and separated this pair of sisters. If the number 1 expert of the barbarian tribe had not arrived in time at that time, this pair of sisters would have been taken away. This disaster of the barbarian tribe was kept a secret for more than 10 years. Not many people knew about it. Only the barbarian tribe's royal family knew a thing or two. In these past years, the barbarian tribe's royal family had long thought that Princess Mingzhu was dead. Outsiders only knew of Princess Mingyu. Who would have thought that half a month ago, a strange phenomenon occurred in the barbarian tribe's tribal altar, which alarmed the unpredictable 8th master to come out of his closed-door training. Behind these 3 people was the barbarian tribe's most powerful barbarian elephant army. Their offensive and defensive capabilities were top-notch. This army was able to contend against the Great Xia dynasty's War Dragon and War Tiger battalions at the same time. They even had a slight advantage. The dozens of riders in front of them were all top-notch warriors. Each of them could fight against 100 people. If they did not have this kind of ability, how could they serve as the bodyguards of the 3 people in front of them? As they got closer and closer to the Great Xia dynasty's border, their whereabouts were already exposed. However, they did not care. They were confident that even if the Great Xia dynasty's army was mobilized, they would still have the confidence to escape back to their own camp. At the same time, Li Dazue, Yang Wu, and Shou Ho had already entered the battlefield channel. They had received orders to kill this team of barbarians in front of them. Li Dazue, Yang Wu, and Shou Ho did not know how powerful this team was. In their eyes, there was only the mission and the completion of the mission. Li Dazue seemed to be a fool, but he was not. He was able to survive until now on the battlefield not only because of his high-level general-level strength, but also because of his vigilance. When his superiors suddenly assigned him a mission and asked him to bring Yang Wu and Shou Ho along, he realized that this mission was not simple. Therefore, he was not as impulsive as he was when he first brought Yang Wu and Shou Ho to kill the barbarians. Instead, he moved forward carefully and spread out his divine sense to hide. He wanted to figure out the situation of the other party's troops before waiting for an opportunity to act. Although they were careful and cautious enough, there was a barbarian king among the other party. How could their auras escape the other party's senses? When they were 5 kilometers away from the team of barbarians, Shur Shafong had already sensed their whereabouts. When they were 5 kilometers away from him, Shur Shafong ordered 2 barbarian generals to deal with Li Dazue, Yang Wu, and Shou Ho. Huang Fu Taiging looked at the elephant bone plate in his hand. His old eyes flashed with a bright light. After pinching his fingers a few times, he said faintly, "Send 2 more people to capture the 3 people in front alive." Immediately, 2 barbarian generals jumped off the giant elephant and nodded deeply. Then, like ghosts, they leaped and dashed toward Li Dazue, Yang Wu, and Shou Ho who were hiding. There were 4 barbarian generals in front and behind. Each of them had the strength of a champion. It was a piece of cake for them to deal with a human general and 2 warriors. Yang Wu's senses were extremely sensitive. When the 4 barbarian generals rushed over, he said to Li Dazue, "Barbarians are coming." Li Dazue grinned and said, "They're all my meat." Li Dazue increased his speed. Yang Wu and Shou Ho had no choice but to keep up. They quickly ran into the two barbarian generals who had arrived first. The two barbarian generals didn't say anything. They took the initiative to attack Li Dazue, who was charging over first. One of the barbarian generals punched out with a fist that carried the power to destroy rocks and split mountains, heading straight for Li Dazue's face. Li Dazue's movements were light and graceful. He passed by the barbarian generals and used the heart-ripping hand to grab the barbarian general's heart. He wanted to shatter the barbarian general's breastplate and kill them in one fell swoop. The other barbarian generals ran toward Yang Wu and Shou Ho. His two palms were like fans and carried dense mystical aura as he attacked the two. Shou Ho, step back, Yang Wu said to Shou Ho. At the same time, he struck out with both palms to resist the barbarian general's strength. Bang bang! The two palms crossed and the mystical aura collided. Immediately, a dull sound rang out. Yang Wu and the barbarian generals were one large realm apart and two small realms apart. He forcefully blocked the two palms and didn't retreat a single step. This caused the barbarian generals to be extremely astonished. He's only at the warrior level, but he can actually block the power of my palms. This child can't be left alive. Just as the barbarian generals were about to summon all of their battle strength, Yang Wu's strength suddenly increased. He moved even faster than the barbarian generals. His palms, which contained a spiral force, rushed to the barbarian general's chest with an unstoppable force. The barbarian generals didn't have time to counterattack. Relying on the power of these two palms, they directly shattered his mystic armor. The power directly crushed his chest. Even in death, he couldn't understand when such a powerful warrior genius had appeared in the Great Xia dynasty. Chapter 86. Yang Wu's strength had been rapidly increasing, and so did his combat strength. He had even killed a mid-level barbarian general, let alone a low-level barbarian general. After Yang Wu killed the low-level barbarian general, he didn't look pleased at all. He had already sensed that more powerful barbarian generals were coming. How dare you kill my brother? You're a lowly citizen of Great Xia. You're dead. One of the two barbarian generals shouted angrily. Yang Wu faced the barbarian general with a high fighting spirit and said, "Come and kill me if you can." The military camp had already set the mission for him to kill the barbarian generals. Originally, he only needed 100 barbarian generals to get rid of his status as a prison slave. Now it was increased to 500 barbarian generals. If he was an ordinary soldier, he would have been promoted to a chiliarch. However, to Yang Wu, it was only enough to atone for his crimes. It would be a lie if he didn't have any resentment in his heart. However, he had already decided to walk the path of the War King of Death. He had no other choice. The barbarian general didn't dare to underestimate his opponent. He pulled out the spear on his back and furiously stabbed it at Yang Wu. The spear was extremely fast and contained a sharp spiral barbarian force. Its destructive power reached 40 to 50 feet. It was extremely powerful. "Today I'll use you to practice." After Yang Wu exclaimed in his heart, he kicked out with one leg. A powerful whip leg fiercely lashed out, and an arc-shaped force rushed towards the barbarian general's spear. Scimitar kick. This was a general skill that Yang Wu had obtained from Ai Fei Li. The power it could unleash was extraordinary. Unfortunately, he had just reached the nuance stage and couldn't unleash its full power. He was pierced by the barbarian general's spear and almost stabbed into his leg. Fortunately, he retreated quickly enough. Yang Wu was not discouraged because of this. After his leg landed on the ground, he flipped his body and kicked out with his other leg. In an instant, he kicked out 6 times. The impenetrable kicks forced the brute general to stop and enter his strongest defense. The barbarian tribe's innate defense was astonishing. The light yellow 2-layered profound armor blocked Yang Wu's strength. Yang Wu's strength was strong enough to kick him back repeatedly. The barbarian general was unwilling to be defeated. He quickly spun the battle spear in his hand and smashed it straight at Yang Wu's head. The astonishing strength was sharp and domineering, enough to split a mountain. Yang Wu narrowly dodged to the side. A few strands of his hair were cut, and a shallow cut appeared on his cheek. The clear pain made him clearly feel the strength of this brute general. He continued to use his scimitar kick to launch a chain of kicks, each kick faster than the last. The scimitar kick focused on speed. The faster it was, the more it could bring out its essence. Once the speed reached a certain limit, the strength of each kick could be superimposed, and the power would increase explosively. The brute general's strength was overbearing. He forcibly blocked Yang Wu's attack. The battle spear was like a heavenly pillar that attacked again and again. Yang Wu's cicada clothes were torn, and a few bloody holes appeared on his body. However, the brute general also took many kicks from Yang Wu. It could be said that they were evenly matched. On the other side, Li Dazue had already dug out the heart of the brute general, who had just rushed over and swallowed it on the spot. This made the brute general who came later furious. He raised his battle spear and tried to kill Li Dazue. As for Shou Ho, his eyes were shining. He directly looked at the dozens of riders who were rushing over from several miles away. His heart trembled with fear. Without thinking, he exclaimed, "Boss, big brother, there are dozens of riders rushing over from the front." Unfortunately, Li Dazue and Yang Wu did not seem to hear him. They were still fighting fiercely. Shou Ho gritted his teeth and pulled out his broken staff. He actually ran toward the dozens of riders in front of him, wanting to stop them with his strength alone. However, before he could take a few steps, Little Hay suddenly jumped over and bit on his trousers, stopping him from trying to break a rock with an egg. "Little Hay, do you not want me to go over? Don't worry, I have my broken staff. I can stop them for a while." Shou Ho lowered his head and looked at Little Hay as he spoke confidently. Little Hay ignored Shou Ho and continued to bite on his trousers without letting go. Her small body looked so determined and frail. Shou Ho was quite touched. He muttered, as expected of Big Brother's spirit pet, "You are affectionate and loyal." Shou Ho squatted down and gently stroked Little Hay, making her loosen her trousers. Then, he ran toward the dozens of riders, looking as if he was not afraid of death. Woof, woof! Little Hay did not chase after him again. Instead, a complicated look appeared in its eyes. Then, it turned around and ran back toward Yang Wu. Little Hay usually did not participate in Yang Wu's battles. However, when it was needed, Little Hay would take the initiative to attack without any instructions from Yang Wu. As the battle progressed, Yang Wu's fighting spirit grew stronger and stronger. He still did not use his combat weapon. Instead, he used the one-inch punch when he got close to the barbarian general. One-inch punch was only a warrior-level fist technique. However, its specialty was that when it was used in close combat, the fist would explode with a stacked one-inch punch. It could destroy the opponent's defense and directly injure them. At present, Yang Wu had already avoided the barbarian general's consecutive thrusts. When he got close to the barbarian general, he threw the one-inch punch. His forearm instantly swung and the fist radiance hit the barbarian general's vital point. The one-inch punch directly entered the Xian armor and crashed into the barbarian general's body, wreaking havoc on his body. The barbarian general abandoned his spear and used his empty palm to hit Yang Wu's head. The overbearing palm wind tore through the air and approached Yang Wu directly. Yang Wu reacted quickly. He threw a punch upward and the other punch hit the same spot again. The one-inch punch condensed from Xian Qi became more and more ferocious. Yang Wu took advantage of the barbarian general's slow reaction speed and threw 8 punches in a row. 8 one-inch punches rushed to the same spot one after another and punched a bloody hole in the barbarian general's body. Yang Wu was heavily hit on the shoulder by the barbarian general. His body tilted and his shoulder exploded with blood. His entire arm was numb. You really have a lot of little tricks. In the face of absolute strength, you can't even withstand a single blow." The barbarian general didn't care about the injuries on his body at all. After he roared, he drew out all his strength. The battle spear emitted an extremely bright light, and then he made an extremely fierce attack on Yang Wu. Earth Dragon drilling. The barbarian general's thrusts caused the ground to explode repeatedly. It was as if an earth dragon was crashing on the ground. The powerful force caused the earth to shake. Yang Wu realized that the intermediate barbarian general had used all his strength and didn't dare to hold back. He pulled out the trident on his back and fiercely stabbed it into the ground, forcibly stopping the earth dragon's rampage. He was also shaken by the barbarian general's brute force and kept retreating. At this moment, he realized where the advantage of the barbarian race's strength lay. The barbarian race's brute force dominated the world. This was a fact recognized by many races. Even if the barbarian race in front of him didn't have the bloodline power of atavism, they could still exert a strong brute force. The barbarian general's attacks became more and more frenzied. He was really going berserk. He must kill this great Xia. Yang Wu held the trident and displayed the art of the storm spear. The feeling of being one with the trident appeared once again. The power of the art of the storm spear was displayed to perfection, blocking all of the brute general's power. At the same time, he stabbed the brute general twice. This seemingly broken trident was quite powerful. The brute general's defense was like a piece of paper that was pierced through. What kind of combat weapon is this? The barbarian general's expression changed, and he kept retreating. Yang Wu became braver as he fought. He realized that the trident was really a combat weapon that matched him. The power flowing in his body was very smooth. When it reached the trident, his strength increased explosively. At this time, Li Dazue tore another barbarian general apart. The barbarian general who was fighting with Yang Wu was frightened and didn't dare to fight. He fought and retreated, wanting to drag the battle until the army arrived. Yang Wu sensed the barbarian general's intention to retreat and finally stopped holding back. He shouted, "Barbarian general, don't even think about escaping." At this moment, Yang Wu's Supreme 9 Mysteries formula and Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance worked together. The absorbed power merged with the power in his body. The 12 principal meridians, the Run and Do meridians, and the 165 acupoints all drew power from the Dantian at the same time. It was as if a vortex of power was exploding in his body, and all of it gathered on the trident. The trident was like a rainbow after the rain. "Great Xia's remnant citizen, don't be violent!" a barbarian general cried out in alarm from afar. He rushed to the rescue at an extremely fast speed. The barbarian general came quickly, but Li Dazue was also quick to block him. He licked his lips and muttered, "There's too much meat today. I'm afraid I'll eat until I'm full." The barbarian general who rushed over was blocked by Li Dazue. The barbarian general who was chasing after Yang Wu didn't have any help. He was also attacking at full speed, determined to block Yang Wu's attack. However, when he came into contact with Yang Wu's power, he discovered that Yang Wu's power was much greater than before. His spear was broken in one move, and the trident still mercilessly smashed onto his head. Bang! In an instant, the barbarian general's head exploded. Blood and brain matter splattered all over the ground. Until his death, the intermediate barbarian general couldn't understand how a soldier-level soldier of Great Xia could erupt with such valiant power. His spear was a general weapon, but it couldn't even withstand a single blow. What kind of weapon was that lousy weapon? In fact, it wasn't only the intermediate barbarian general who was astonished. Even Yang Wu didn't expect the trident in his hand to be able to break the enemy's weapon. When he landed, he stared blankly at the trident and muttered, "Don't tell me this trident is a high-level general weapon. Little Hay's foresight is really good." Woof woof. Little Hay's barks rang out. She quickly landed on Yang Wu's shoulder and looked straight ahead with a vigilant look. Yang Wu came back to his senses and looked at the dozens of cavalrymen who were approaching, as well as the skinny monkey who was captured by them. His face became gloomy. When he glanced at one of the cavalrymen, he couldn't help but exclaim, "Little man, why are you here?" "No, you're not, little man, let's go." At this moment, after Li Dazue got rid of his opponent, he quickly retreated. Regardless of whether Yang Wu was willing or not, he grabbed his hand and dragged him away from this place. Chapter 87. Li Dazue looked stupid, but he wasn't. He just acted like a fool sometimes, and his mentality was a little abnormal. When he encountered danger, he would run away faster than anyone else. Yang Wu's combat strength was comparable to the general realm, but compared to Li Dazue, who had already reached the Warlord realm, he was still a lot weaker. Li Dazue made a prompt decision to take Yang Wu away because he didn't want Yang Wu to die here. He had already felt the strength of this group of people. "Capture them alive!" Huang Fu Taiging stared at Yang Wu and shouted. "Yes." The barbarian general behind him responded. Immediately after, a top-notch barbarian general led 6 people and quickly chased after them. They didn't ride on giant tusked elephants. The elephant wasn't fast enough and would delay them from capturing people. One of them is in the general realm, and the other is in the warrior realm. If you can't take them down, you don't have to come back, Shi Shafeng said coldly. As a king, Shi Shafeng had the demeanor of a king. He wouldn't go so far as to personally deal with 2 low-level martial artists. That would damage his dignity. "Eighth Grandpa, why do we have to capture them alive? Can't we just kill them?" Huang Fu Mingyu said with a stern look. "Apart from this brat in front of us, that brat just now should be related to your sister," Huang Fu Taiging said as he touched the elephant bone plate in his hand. Then he added, "The needle in the elephant bone plate is obviously moving slightly. The brat we capture now won't cause as strong a reaction as the brat just now." "Do you want me to make a move?" Shi Shafeng asked. Huang Fu Taiging waved his hand and said, "As long as you make a move, the kings of Great Xia will also make a move, and a war will break out. Now is not the time. Send more people over just in case. We must bring back Princess Mingzhu." Shi Shafeng nodded, then waved his hand and ordered a group of people to chase after Li Dazue and Yang Wu. At this moment, Yang Wu struggled and shouted, "Put me down, I want to save Skinny Monkey." Yang Wu had a lot of strength, but he couldn't get out of Li Dazue's hands. He was so angry that he punched Li Dazue in the face. However, Li Dazue still didn't let go. He mobilized all the strength in his body and ran at full speed. His body was like a surging river, and the acupuncture points all over his body emitted a resplendent light. He faintly had the rhythm of a breakthrough. "Let go of me!" Yang Wu looked at the indifferent Li Dazue and shouted again. Yang Wu punched him again. Li Dazue still didn't cry out in pain, nor did he let go. However, there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Yang Wu felt guilty and calmed down. Unfortunately, the brute generals had already caught up. The strongest of the brute generals threw the spear in his hand. The spear was like a dragon, aiming to kill Li Dazue and Yang Wu. Li Dazue seemed to have eyes at the back of his head. He bounced to the side and dodged the spear. The spear crashed into the trees in front of him, causing them to collapse. The momentum was terrifying. "You won't be able to escape. Stop and you will have a chance to live. Otherwise, we will kill you when we catch up," the brute generals said ruthlessly. They sped up and were only 300 feet away from Li Dazue and company. Yang Wu realized that the situation was critical. He said to Li Dazue, "Put me down. You can escape first." At that moment, the 2 of them weren't escaping back to their own camp. Instead, they were escaping into the dense forest of the mountain range. There were countless trees, bushes, and hidden wild beasts and spirit demons. Such a place with many obstacles was more conducive for them to escape. Li Dazue hesitated for a moment. He exerted force in his hand and threw Yang Wu forward. He shouted, "You can escape. I will stay behind to stop them." Yang Wu, who had been unable to control himself, was thrown by Li Dazue. He sped up and quickly distanced himself from the two of them. Yang Wu was very touched. This evil person who wanted to devour others wasn't truly evil. The moment Li Dazue let go of Yang Wu, he released his aura. A powerful sound rang out from his body. Pa pa. In an instant, Li Dazue's strength was raised to the peak. He launched his final attack towards the pinnacle of the general realm. The pinnacle brute general who had rushed over had already sensed Li Dazue's change. He sneered and shouted, "You've chosen a good time to break through at this moment." The pinnacle brute general formed a seal with both hands and sent out a heavy palm strike at Li Dazue's head. The crystalline power was filled with destructive power. It squeezed the air so hard that it produced strange sounds. Li Dazue looked up and clenched his fist to punch at the pinnacle brute general's palm strike. The pinnacle brute general quickly threw out more than 10 punches. Every punch was merciless, not giving Li Dazue any chance to catch his breath. Li Dazue punched out with both his fists, blocking the pinnacle brute general's attack. His body sank into the ground. At the same time, the other brute generals had already caught up. They saw that their companions had gained the upper hand. Only 2 of them stayed behind to hold the line. The others quickly chased after the brat in front of them. After being flung away by Li Dazue, Yang Wu didn't run away. Instead, he stood in place, clenched his fists and muttered, "Why should I run away? Don't I want to embark on the path of becoming the king of death? What's there to run away from? If I can't find the fastest path to becoming a king, I might as well die here." Yang Wu couldn't just watch the skinny monkey die. Now that Li Dazue had risked his life for him to escape, how could he run away? At this moment, he had completely accepted life and death. Holding the trident, he ran out and took the initiative to meet the 4 brute generals who were rushing over. This time, the barbarian elephant army had sent dozens of riders. All of them were at the general realm. None of them were below the soldier realm. This level of strength was more than enough to kill Yang Wu. The Death Legion had issued this order to send Yang Wu and the others to their death. One of the brute generals held a broadsword and slashed 3 times in the blink of an eye, all aimed at Yang Wu's vital points. Another brute general held a battle axe and chopped at Yang Wu's waist. Another brute general held a heavy hammer and smashed it at Yang Wu's head. The last brute general held a mace and slammed it at Yang Wu's back. The 4 brute generals cooperated seamlessly, intending to severely injure and capture Yang Wu. Rainstorm Spear Technique. After Yang Wu threw caution to the wind, he no longer hid his strength. He held the trident and attacked the 4 brute generals. The spear shadows that filled the sky spun and blocked all the attacks from the 4 side. However, this was not enough. He had to break through a corner and end the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would die here. Little Hay understood tacitly. She shuttled through the many attacks and pounced on one of the brute generals. The brute general only felt his vision darken as his profound armor was torn by Little Hay's claws. His neck was bitten by Little Hay. His thick skin and flesh could not withstand Little Hay's sharp teeth. The brute general was in so much pain that he stopped his attack and screamed, "Little Hay, good job!" After Yang Wu praised in his heart, he parried the attacks of the other 3 brute generals with his 3-pronged spear. Then, like a poisonous dragon, the 3-pronged spear pierced the lower abdomen of the brute general who had been bitten by Xiao He and sent him flying. Yang Wu was not having an easy time when he was distracted by killing the enemy. He was hit on the back by a brute general who was holding a mace. The cicada robe on his body burst open and many wolf fang marks opened on his back. Fresh blood quickly seeped out. Another brute general swung his battle axe at Yang Wu's shoulder. Fortunately, Yang Wu dodged quickly enough. If he had been half a beat slower, his shoulder would have been chopped off. Yang Wu held the trident spear and spun around, blocking many of the attacks. His figure retreated again and again, leaving footprints on the ground. After slowing down his movements, he counterattacked again. The torrential storm spear art was displayed to the perfect stage. Many water xian qi were like a violent storm that continuously blasted out. It was really impossible to guard against. The brute general who was holding the heavy hammer was the slowest. Yang Wu's spear pierced his thigh and blood instantly gushed out. However, the brute general did not cry out. He just frowned and his heavy hammer fell heavily on Yang Wu's trident. He wanted to destroy Yang Wu's weapon first. However, Yang Wu's trident was very strange. It looked like it could not withstand a single blow, but after being hit by the heavy hammer, it did not show any signs of breaking. The three barbarian generals fought faster and faster, forcing Yang Wu to the point where he was unable to withstand their attacks. His body was continuously wounded. If it wasn't for the fact that his body had been tempered by the companion wolf blood crystal, he definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand such fierce attack. The three barbarian generals weren't having a good time either. Yang Wu's attacks were sharp enough, and his perfect spear technique allowed him to fight with speed. If they were to fight against Yang Wu alone, they would have already been defeated. But now, Yang Wu's trident spear had more or less pierced through their profound armors and directly injured their bodies. This was his strength, and also the strength of the trident spear. After the opponent's weapon came into contact with the trident, it was damaged again and again. The trident was still sharp, which showed that its grade was higher than the other three weapons. When Yang Wu was unable to kill his way out of the encirclement, Little Hay once again appeared out of nowhere and directly bit the butt of the guy holding the heavy hammer. Yang Wu was growing stronger, and so was Little Hay. Its speed was several times faster than before, like a bolt of black lightning in the daytime. The brute generals could not react in time and were bitten on the butt. The pain caused his movements to become sluggish. It was also at this moment that Yang Wu's trident swept across his throat and directly cut his neck. He could not cover it no matter how hard he tried, and fell into a pool of blood. Ada! When the two brute generals saw that another of their companions had been killed, they involuntarily cried out in pain. Moreover, they also noticed the running Little Hay dog, and a murderous intent flashed across their eyes. Unfortunately, they did not have the time to pay attention to Little Hay. Yang Wu's attacks had already forced them into a corner. Just when Yang Wu felt that he could take down both of them at the same time, Li Dazue rushed over from behind and shouted, "Run! The enemy has reinforcements again!" This time, Yang Wu did not need Li Dazue to pull him back. He fled with him for his life. "Shou Ho, I don't have the ability to save you this time. If I survive in the future, I will definitely avenge you." Yang Wu swore in his heart. He had bitten his lips so hard that they were bleeding. It was obvious how sad he was. He had already treated Shou Ho as a brother. Today, he saw his brother in trouble but could not save him. Anyone would feel suffocated and upset. Chapter 88. Yang Wu and Li Dazue desperately fled through the forest. They had exhausted all their strength. Yang Wu used the suction force of the dragon turtle water suppressing stance to increase his speed. He was not much slower than Li Dazue. Since he had cultivated the scud leg, his feet were extremely agile. With a lot of strength, he ran like a leopard. Little Hay, who was on his shoulder, was as still as a mountain. It seemed that no matter how Yang Wu ran or jumped, it would be able to lie firmly on his body. Li Dazue had broken through to the top Warlord realm in the battle just now. However, he was severely injured and had to pay a huge price to escape from the enemy. Many barbarian generals chased after them with all their strength, not giving them a chance to escape. Fortunately, this was the Wolf Smoke Mountain range. There were many wild beasts and spirit demons here. When they barged in, they finally alarmed the wild beasts and spirit demons and jumped out to attack them. Originally, Yang Wu and the others were bound to be attacked. However, Every time these wild beasts and spirit demons rushed out, little He on Yang Wu's shoulder would cry out and emit a unique demonic aura. This caused the wild beasts and spirit demons to show some fear. They did not attack them immediately, buying them precious time. As for the barbarians, they were not so lucky. The alarmed wild beasts and spirit demons could only vent their anger on them. Because of this, Yang Wu and Li Dazue gained some breathing space. However, they did not dare to stop. Instead, they rested as they ran, afraid that they would be surrounded and captured alive. After escaping for half a day, it was finally night. This was more advantageous for the escaping party. Yang Wu finally endured and said to Li Dazue, "Boss, let's split up and escape. You run first. I'm a little hungry. I want to eat meat." Li Dazue glanced at Yang Wu and replied, "Boss, don't force yourself. I know you want to take care of me, but if you stay you will be killed by them." Yang Wu said sincerely, "I've eaten so much of their meat, so what's the harm in letting them eat it once?" Li Dazue replied in a carefree manner, "Boss, don't say such discouraging words. None of us will die. Let's split up and escape. As you can see, my strength is not as good as yours, but my ability to escape is not inferior to yours. After we split up, their forces will be scattered, and we will have a chance to escape." Yang Wu explained clearly. Li Dazue thought about it and said, "Okay, remember to treat me to barbecue when you come back." "Don't worry, there will definitely be enough," Yang Wu said very seriously. "Okay," Li Dazue replied and finally parted ways with Yang Wu. Yang Wu watched as Li Dazue disappeared into the night. He sighed heavily and muttered to himself, "Not only will this scatter the barbarians' forces, but it will also give the boss a chance to escape. As for me, how can I just run back to the army like this?" Immediately after, he started running again. At the same time, he said to Little He, "Little He, I know that your abilities are not ordinary. Whether or not we can survive depends on you." "Woof, woof," Little He barked in response. At the same time, its eyes shone with a dark green light, taking in everything in the forest. When Yang Wu ran in the wrong direction, it would immediately bark and wave its front paws to make Yang Wu change direction. Although Yang Wu could not tell north from south, east from west, he still followed Little He's instructions. Not long after, he realized that something was wrong. He also felt that the soldiers behind them were getting closer and closer. This made him feel a little strange. "Little He, you're not leading me back to the original path, are you?" Little He ignored Yang Wu and continued to wave its front paws to make Yang Wu move in the direction it was pointing. Yang Wu shuttled through the dense forest. His clothes were torn in many places, making him look very haggard. After a while, he suddenly saw a pair of extremely shocked eyes staring at him. The eyes were the size of a fist and emitted a faint yellow light. In the night, it made people feel terrified. Yang Wu stopped and did not dare to take another step forward. He cursed in his heart, "Little He is trying to get me killed." In front of him, he could sense that this wild beast or spirit demon was very powerful. Otherwise, how could it be so big? Sure enough, when the big guy moved forward, Yang Wu finally realized what kind of spirit demon it was. He hurriedly said, "Big guy, go back to sleep. I just happened to pass by your place. I'll leave now, I'll leave now." After he finished speaking, he turned and fled. He hated that he was born with 2 legs. He cried in his heart, "Little He is trying to get me killed." At this moment, the 6 barbarians not far from Yang Wu had already caught up. One of the barbarians, who was extremely good at tracking, was running at the front. He pointed in front and said, "The Great Xia Pariah is just ahead. Let's go faster." The 6 silhouettes ran like the wind. Many branches were broken by them. Nothing could obstruct them. When they approached, they suddenly discovered that Yang Wu had actually turned back and rushed towards them. This caused them to be astonished, but at the same time, they revealed complacent expressions. They thought that Yang Wu had walked right into their trap. This person's combat power is not ordinary. Bring me to capture him, a top barbarian general exclaimed. Just as the top barbarian general was about to make his move, a terrifying roar suddenly sounded from behind Yang Wu. Roar! Fearful cries rang out in all directions, causing the sleeping beasts and some weaker spirit demons to tremble. They retreated into their own caves, not daring to come out. Even the owls perched on the trees were so frightened that they flew away from the trees. This was not the wrath of a king, but in this area it was a true king. It was a top demon general, the Black Steel Bear. Its black fur stood up like needles. Its 4 limbs were well developed and its body was almost 10 feet tall. Its eyes were fierce and its fangs were bloodthirsty. It chased after Yang Wu with heavy footstep. It was obvious that this big guy was completely enraged and wanted to kill someone to vent his anger. At this moment, the barbarian generals finally knew why the other party was running towards them. It was a good plan to divert the trouble away. Do you think a mere wild bear can stop us? Naive. The top barbarian general sneered and continued to charge. Yang Wu quickly made a 90-degree turn and fled to the side. He did not want to meet the other party head-on. Seeing that Yang Wu was running again, the top barbarian general shouted again, "Shoot the arrows!" Behind him, a barbarian general took the snake bow and instantly pulled it to a full moon. An arrow shot out like a meteor chasing after the moon, shooting towards Yang Wu who was running away. Yang Wu's divine court was very sensitive. When he sensed the strange sound, he rolled to the ground. The arrow narrowly brushed past his body, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. Several barbarian generals were already chasing after him like wolves and tigers. However, the Black Steel Bear was completely enraged. It roared continuously and spat out rays of light towards the barbarian generals who did not take it seriously. The top barbarian general was also very powerful. He continuously threw out punches and blocked the Black Steel Bear's power, creating space for the others to chase after Yang Wu. At this moment, Little Hay was no longer on Yang Wu's shoulder. When he encountered the Black Steel Bear, Little Hay jumped down from his shoulder and hid in the darkness. No one knew what it was going to do. Yang Wu ran like a tiger and leopard. The qi in his body became more and more turbulent. He did not look exhausted at all. Some of his acupoints were even opened as he ran. It was really hard to imagine. The barbarian general with the bow shot 3 arrows in a row. The 3 arrows nailed into the trees beside Yang Wu and directly pierced through them. If the arrows hit Yang Wu's body, he would probably explode. After Yang Wu's speed was hindered, a high-level barbarian general arrived. This person lifted a huge rock and threw it at Yang Wu. The rolling rocks fell like meteorites from outer space, and the destructive power was astonishing. Yang Wu immediately stopped and did not dare to take another step forward. The rock fell 1 step in front of him, and a deep pit was formed on the ground. Dust flew up in an instant, and the stone fragments splashed on his body. The moment he stopped, another arrow was shot. It was already difficult for him to dodge, so he could only sweep his trident spear back and deflect the arrow. This time, he completely stopped. In an instant, the power of the 5 barbarian generals bombarded him from all directions. The 5 of them knew that if they wanted to take down Yang Wu, they could not give Yang Wu any chance to catch his breath. They had to take him down in one go. When there was no way to retreat, Yang Wu completely threw caution to the wind. He shouted, "Let's kill to our heart's content tonight." When his killing intent was aroused, the blood in his body boiled. The trident spear burst out a powerful light and swept towards these attacks. Boom! 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 Yang Wu was fighting against 5 barbarian generals. Even if his power was amazing, he was still forced to retreat. However, he was not afraid at all. He attacked back and forth with the rainstorm spear art again and again. His chi splashed as he defended and blocked to prevent himself from being injured. The 5 barbarian generals cooperated seamlessly, and their power kept increasing. Different weapons greeted Yang Wu back and forth, forcing Yang Wu to defend himself. Soon, Yang Wu was injured in many places and was in a disadvantageous state. If this continued, he would definitely lose. However, after the trident spear in his hand was stained with his blood, the cracks on it kept showing an inexplicable brilliance, making it even more powerful. In his divine courtyard, the will of death began to beat, making him feel the true power of death. Puff, puff. Yang Wu was hit by several attacks. He spat out blood and had wounds all over his body. He could not hold on for much longer. Everyone, slow down. Sir has ordered us to capture this boy alive. We can't kill him, a barbarian general said. The 5 barbarian generals slowed down their attacks at the same time, giving Yang Wu a chance to catch his breath. At this moment, Yang Wu's body emitted a murderous intent. The power of the trident spear in his hands increased greatly. A power of the will of death erupted from the trident spear. He shouted, "Kill!" In an instant, the power that erupted doubled. A barbarian general in front of him could not retreat in time and was split in half on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere. It was a ghastly sight. The remaining 4 barbarian generals were shocked. They attacked with all their strength again, but it was too late. Yang Wu had completely gone berserk. Chapter 89. The Way of Death was one of the top martial arts among the 3,000 great ways. It was also one of the most difficult martial arts to comprehend. If one had not seen death before, it would be very difficult to comprehend the feeling of being on the verge of death. Yang Wu had obtained the will of death from the battle skill tablet left behind by the Battle King of Death. It was only a hazy will and was far from the true way of death. However, it was this tiny bit of will that allowed Yang Wu, who was facing the threat of death, to trigger the will of death, allowing him to enter a mysterious state. The moves he used were filled with the will of death, causing his strength to increase explosively. Every martial art had its own unique aspects. The way of death naturally allowed one to enter a state of death. It was a kind of aura that imperceptibly affected one's perception of the divine court. After Yang Wu triggered the will of death, his opponents within a few dozen feet of him were placed in an inexplicable will of death. They would feel fear in their hearts and feel that they were on the verge of death. Their minds would completely collapse and they would be killed by him in a single move. After Yang Wu furiously beheaded a person, the will of death emitted from his body shook the bodies and minds of the brute generals. Their minds and wills were affected and the feeling of death made them feel fear. It was as if they had stepped into the gates of hell. The waves of cold qi attached to their bodies made them want to flee at the mere sight of it. Unless one had an extremely strong will, it would be difficult to maintain one's original state of mind under the influence of this will of death. At this moment, Yang Wu repeatedly waved his trident spear. The trident spear's shaft contained boundless profound qi. It swept across the 4 of them like lightning and wind. One of the brute generals was sent flying by the waist, while another had one of his arms broken. The other 2 brute generals were slightly stronger. When faced with the threat of death, they reacted the fastest. However, they were only lightly injured by Yang Wu's trident spear. "There's something strange about this brat. Don't hold back anymore." The lightly injured barbarian general regained his senses and shouted angrily. Following that, the brute general used his trump card. His brute force surged, and a powerful force condensed on his combat weapon. The combat weapon seemed to have turned into a fire dragon that charged at Yang Wu, wanting to tear him apart. Yang Wu stared at the attack and thrust his trident spear forward. Under the influence of the will of death, the power he erupted with was more than twice as strong as before. It pierced through the fire dragon's head, and the remaining power pierced through the brute general's profound armor and chest. The barbarian general found it hard to believe that even with his full strength, he still couldn't block the other party's attack. He was truly unwilling to die. When Yang Wu killed the brute general, he also paid the price. The other lightly injured brute general slashed his sickle, leaving a long bloody gash on Yang Wu's back. Even his spine was exposed. Not only did this injury not cause him to be injured and unable to move, but it also aroused his ferocity. The will of death was fully activated. He turned around and thrust his spear. Dense spear shadows enveloped the brute general, who was once again affected, piercing him into a beehive. The other two brute generals were so frightened that they didn't know what to do. They couldn't help but retreat. However, Yang Wu didn't plan to let them go. He roared, "Kill!" Yang Wu wielded his trident like the god of death. He repeatedly blasted out spear shadows. His Xian Qi reached a distance of 30 meters, breaking the ground and smashing the surrounding trees. The two brute generals, who were known for their defense and brute force, were beaten into a pool of blood. After Yang Wu killed the 5 brute generals, he stabbed his trident heavily into the ground. His body leaned on the trident and seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. He had consumed a lot of energy and his back was severely injured. Being able to kill these brute generals proved that he was sufficiently valiant. Just as Yang Wu was about to sit down and rest, the top-notch brute general who was fighting with the black steel bear rushed towards him and exclaimed, "Great Xia's lowly commoner, you actually killed 5 of my brothers. You're dead meat." This top-notch brute general was seriously injured. His body was covered in blood. He didn't see the black steel bear chasing after him. Either it was killed by him or the black steel bear didn't dare to chase after him. Either way, it proved that this top-notch brute general was valiant. "Oh no!" Yang Wu cried bitterly in his heart. Now, he was in a bad situation. Although he was recovering quickly, it was difficult for him to recover quickly. How could he resist the hunt of this top-notch brute general? The top-notch brute general held a broken weapon in his hand and attacked Yang Wu. A powerful brute force rushed over in the blink of an eye. Yang Wu didn't even have the chance to defend himself. His body was sent flying while vomiting blood. The top-notch brute general followed him like a shadow and rushed to where Yang Wu was lying on the ground. He directly stepped on Yang Wu's chest, causing Yang Wu to spit out a mouthful of blood. "If it weren't for the higher-ups wanting to capture you alive, I would have killed you right now," the top-notch brute general shouted angrily as he stared at Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't reply. The Supreme 9 Mysteries formula in his body was operating to the extreme. While absorbing the energy, he was also using the remaining energy to heal his injuries. He anxiously thought, "I'm done for." The top-notch brute general was still angry after stepping on Yang Wu's chest. He ruthlessly stepped on Yang Wu again, shattering his sternum and rupturing his internal organs. Yang Wu was on the verge of death. The top-notch brute general was relieved. He sat cross-legged on the ground and muttered, "Fortunately, this brat has used up all his energy. Otherwise, with my current condition, it would be troublesome to take him down. It's all that damned black steel bear's fault for injuring me so badly." The top-notch brute general was also an arrow at the end of its flight. He was fighting Yang Wu with his last breath, so his condition was only slightly better than Yang Wu's. There was a terrifying bear paw print on his back, causing his body to almost fall apart. The top-notch brute general took out a healing elixir and swallowed it, healing his injuries on the spot. It was late at night, so he wasn't sure if he could find his own team. Everything would have to wait until dawn. He didn't take Yang Wu seriously anymore. He felt that it was already quite amazing for him to be able to survive such injuries. It was impossible for him to pose a threat to him. Unfortunately, he had miscalculated this time. Yang Wu was just lying down, but his recovery speed was much faster than the top-notch brute general's, even if the top-notch brute general had swallowed a healing elixir. The remaining energy in Yang Wu's peach core dantian was floating bit by bit. It was the first embryo mysterious energy, the energy of the first life that a newborn baby possessed. With the support of the peach core dantian's magical energy, the combined energy could heal even faster. The first embryo mysterious energy was transported to the injured internal organs through the 12 standard meridians and the conception and governing vessels. The internal organs were slowly regaining their vitality and recovering their circulation. The broken bones were also being connected. The speed of recovery was really incomparable. Yang Wu's consciousness recovered bit by bit. He didn't dare to move, but he could sense that the top-notch brute general was recuperating beside him. He thought to himself, I must recover before him. This was a chance to save himself, and he didn't want to miss it. He didn't dare to bet his life on the missing little He. Yang Wu's Xian formula circulated faster and faster. The surrounding strands of Xian qi seeped into his flesh, fell into his meridians, and gathered in his peach core dantian. His condition continued to improve. Half an hour later, Yang Wu's injuries were half healed. 2 hours later, 70% of his injuries were healed, and 30% of his strength was restored. At this time, the top-notch brute general had entered the most serious state of recuperation. The injuries on his back had also been suppressed, but it would take at least 10 days to half a month for him to fully recover. The strength of the black steel bear's paw was no joke. At this time, Yang Wu's eyes moved slightly. He narrowed them into slits as he looked at the motionless top-notch brute general. He was thinking about how to counterattack. He couldn't wait until he recovered to 100% before making his move. That way, his opponent would definitely notice and be on guard. It was also at this moment that a small black shadow suddenly shot down from a tree. Its target was the top-notch brute general. The top-notch brute general was concentrating on recuperating, but it didn't mean that he had let down his guard. On the contrary, he left some of his consciousness to observe the surroundings. After all, they were in the mountain range. Wild beasts and spirit demons could appear at any time. He had to be on guard. As expected, when he sensed the abnormality, he didn't open his eyes. He waved his hand and struck in the direction of Little He's attack. Just as the palm was about to hit Little He suddenly changed its direction and narrowly dodged the top-notch brute general's attack. However, it didn't stop there. After landing, it attacked the top-notch brute general from another direction. Naturally, the top-notch brute general wouldn't just sit there and wait for death. He opened his eyes and put on his profound armor. He struck his palm horizontally at Little He. This time, Xiao He was unable to dodge. It barked as it was hit by the top-notch barbarian general and crashed into the distance. The top-notch brute general frowned and muttered, "A dog appearing in the middle of the night? How strange." The top-notch brute general didn't know that Little He was Yang Wu's spirit pet. He only thought that it was a wild beast or spirit demon that appeared in the mountain range. Suddenly, Yang Wu, who had been lying on the ground all this time, shot up like a bow. The power in his dantian surged like a river and all of it landed on his arms. He threw a punch and a palm at the top-notch brute general who had his back facing him. Yang Wu had been preparing for this attack for a long time. He didn't dare to act rashly because he was afraid that the top-notch brute general would be on guard. Now that the top-notch brute general's attention was attracted by Little He, his originally tense nerves relaxed. This was his last chance to strike. Dragon Turtle Sea-Turning Technique. This had always been Yang Wu's trump card. Even if he had only scratched the surface of this technique, it was enough for him to use to kill his enemies. The top-notch brute general's reaction was very fast. Unfortunately, his injuries slowed him down and he couldn't dodge in time. Yang Wu hit the wound on his back heavily, and he was sent flying into the trees in the forest like a cannonball. Bang bang! Several trees were broken and the top-notch brute general was seriously injured. Yang Wu, on the other hand, took the opportunity to pick up the trident spear and threw it at the location of the top-level brute general, nailing him to a giant tree. Chapter 90. In the pitch-black night, one couldn't even see their own fingers in the forest. Wild birds and the cries of spirit demons could be heard from time to time, adding to the atmosphere of fear. In this forest, a young man was collecting the belongings of the dead in front of a few corpses. These brute generals are so poor. Apart from some healing pills, they don't have any silver or battle skills," Yang Wu said as he kicked the corpses on the ground in dissatisfaction. After Yang Wu risked his life to kill the top brute generals, he found that little He had returned safe and sound. Thus, he was relieved and wanted to take some money from the dead. Unfortunately, he was a little disappointed. At first, he thought these few barbarians had the overall strength of general realm, and they must be wealthy. But it was not the case at all. He only found some pills from these barbarian generals, and didn't find any silver tails or combat skills. In the end, Yang Wu walked towards the top brute general and finally found something special on his body. It was a mysterious spirit stone. "It's a mysterious spirit stone. I finally got something good," Yang Wu said with great joy. The Xian spirit stone was a kind of energy crystal. It was divided into 3 grades: low, middle, and high. The value of each grade was different. What Yang Wu had in his hands were actually several pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stone. This could be distinguished from the gloss of the stone. The more spots and thicker the stone, the lower the grade. The Xian spirit stones in front of him were such. Each piece of low-grade mystic spirit stone was worth 1,000 gold. Others might not be able to exchange for a piece of low-grade mystic spirit stone with 1,000 gold. This was an essential item for martial artists' cultivation. It could be absorbed by the mystic spirit stone to increase one's strength. This was not the first time Yang Wu had seen a mysterious spirit stone. In the past, the Yang family also had one. His father had shown it to him. Moreover, when he begged Wang Jiuchong, he also destroyed a high-grade mysterious spirit stone. After Yang Wu tied the Xian spirit stone to his waist, he once again plundered the top-notch brute warrior. He obtained a bag of silver fragments and a token from him. "I can't waste these good heads." Yang Wu looked at the 6 corpses and said before cutting off their heads. He wanted to bring them back to the barracks to register his contributions. However, after he wrapped up the heads, he felt extremely uncomfortable carrying them on his back. He thought, how nice would it be if I could store things like Little He? "That's right, Little He, come here for a moment." Yang Wu had a flash of inspiration as he called out to Little He. Little He looked at the heads that Yang Wu's to wrap up to. She rolled to time, "Little He to hell. Can you bear to see me run around with these heads on my back to see me carry these heads?" Little He turned around and didn't look at Yang Wu at all. She only gave Yang Wu a proud back view. Yang Wu took out a low-grade mysterious spirit stone with great difficulty and said, "Little He, if you help me, I'll give you this mysterious spirit stone. How about it?" Little He still ignored him. Yang Wu took out another piece and said, "Little He, don't be too greedy. This is the 2nd mysterious spirit stone. If you don't help, I'll really get angry." This time, Little He turned around. Her eyes were still rolled up high and her face was full of disdain. Yang Wu felt very hurt. He sighed softly and said, "All right, at most 3 mysterious spirit stones. Otherwise, I'll carry them myself." Just as he finished speaking, Little He opened her mouth. In the blink of an eye, a pile of things appeared in front of him. Yang Wu was instantly dumbfounded. The pile of things in front of him were actually low-grade mysterious spirit stones. There were at least a few hundred pieces. Other than that, there seemed to be a few stalks of old herbs that were equally valuable. This. Yang Wu was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. He touched the few pitiful low-grade mysterious spirit stones at his waist. His heart was greatly wounded. He had risked his life to obtain a few low-grade mysterious spirit stones and already felt that he had gained a lot. Although he didn't become rich, he was content with a small fortune. Now that he suddenly saw an even more shocking windfall in front of him, he really suffered a huge blow. What made him feel the most ashamed was that he wanted to use these 2 or 3 mysterious spirit stones to bribe the other party. He really overestimated himself. However, Yang Wu quickly returned to his senses and grabbed at the pile of low-grade mysterious spirit stones. Who knew that Little Hay would keep all of them, causing him to fall into a trap? Little Hay, didn't we enjoy blessings and endure hardships together? Will your conscience hurt if you share some of the mysterious spirit stones with me? Yang Wu said emotionally. The little black and white eyes rolled up again and again, as if it was despising Yang Wu for being so shameless that he could even say such words. Little Hay, you're wrong. Otherwise, I won't let you lie on my shoulder and act cool. Little Hay, actually, you don't know. When I first saw you, I treated you as a brother. If I treated you as a brother, wouldn't I be a dog brother? I apooey, Little Hay, why did you bite me? It hurt so much. Quickly let go. After a battle between man and dog, Yang Wu had a few more bite marks on his body. He was really pitiful. Yang Wu revealed an aggrieved expression. He silently packed up his spoils of war and those few heads, planning to leave this place first. He was afraid that other wild beasts and spirit demons would rush over after smelling the blood. He still understood this principle. Little Hay was still lying on Yang Wu's shoulder. Yang Wu really had no choice but to sigh softly. Your big black lord. This lord can't play with you. Little Hay cried out proudly. Soon, Yang Wu arrived at another place. He thought that he could have a good rest, but Little Hay suddenly jumped down from his shoulder and rushed into the grass. Immediately after, he saw a python being lured out by Little Hay. Yang Wu was shocked. This python was 5 to 6 meters long and as thick as a thigh. Its mouth could easily swallow Little Hay whole. It wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between its teeth. However, Yang Wu realized that Little Hay was biting the python's weak spot. The python's body was constantly shrinking, trying to strangle Little Hay to death. When Yang Wu wanted to attack the python had already been bitten in half by Little Hay. Yang Wu finally saw how powerful Little Hay was. Good boy, if it had bitten my neck, it would have broken. Yang Wu sighed softly in his heart. After that, Little Hay spat out a flame and roasted the python. Then, it called out to Yang Wu a few times, indicating that Yang Wu wanted to eat the python's meat. Yang Wu did not stand on ceremony with Little Hay. He sat down and said, "Those who have Little Hay are not afraid of starving to death." Little Hay was quite happy with Yang Wu's flattery. It jumped up and down on the spot, its short tail wagging nonstop. Then, it bit out a python's gallbladder and brought it to Yang Wu. Yang Wu took it and said, "Legend has it that a python's gallbladder has an aphrodisiac effect. I don't know if it's true or not, but let me have a taste." Then, Yang Wu threw the python's gallbladder into his mouth and swallowed it down. Then, he felt a piercing heat in his stomach. Without thinking, he circulated the Sovereign Nine Mysteries mantra and absorbed the python's gallbladder's energy. This python's gallbladder's energy was not weak. After the energy was separated, a small portion of it entered the peach stone dantian. A portion of it also directly replenished the kidneys, strengthening the kidneys. This was also commonly known as aphrodisiac. Yang Wu's injuries had not completely healed. After eating the python's gallbladder, he received a lot of energy and was in a much better state. He then swallowed the roasted python's meat and continued to replenish his energy. After he finished eating the python's meat, the python's gallbladder and the essence contained in the python's meat were squeezed into his body and seeped into every part of his body, strengthening his body. After Yang Wu felt that his body had recovered quite a bit, he took out a piece of low-grade Xian spirit stone and held it in his hand as he muttered, "I might as well not return to the army. When the sun rises, there might be barbarian generals hunting me down. If I make a breakthrough, I can counterattack and kill them." Then, Yang Wu circulated his energy and meditated, quickly absorbing the low-grade Xian spirit stone in his palm. An ordinary warrior would need around 3 days to absorb a piece of low-grade Xian spirit stone. After all, the low-grade Xian spirit stone contained the essence of Xian Qi and was a rich energy. The warrior's rank was not high and had to absorb and digest it bit by bit. However, Yang Wu's Sovereign Nine Mysteries mantra was too heaven-defying. Its circulation speed was several times faster than ordinary Xian mantras. Furthermore, the storage space of the peach stone dantian was even larger. He only used an hour to refine the low-grade Xian spirit stone and turn it into powder. Yang Wu's dantian was filled with energy and recovered to its peak state. This showed the wonders of the Xian spirit stone. Yang Wu said unhappily, "Didn't they say that the Xian spirit stone can help people increase their strength? Why don't I feel anything?" Thus, he refined the second piece of low-grade Xian spirit stone. This time, he opened 13 acupoints and finally felt the increase in strength. The injuries on his body also completely recovered. "I might as well break through to the realm of top-notch warrior tonight." Yang Wu went all out and calmed his heart to refine the few pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stones on him. These low-grade Xian spirit stones contained some mottled energy and were far inferior to mid-grade or upper-grade Xian spirit stones. Ordinary warriors would definitely absorb these mottled energies when they absorbed these energies. However, Yang Wu's peach stone dantian had the ability to filter and purify these energies. It purified them into Xian Qi essence and spread them throughout his body. His acupoints flickered like rainbows, and the energy they contained was incomparably majestic and powerful. These acupoints represented different positions and also represented that Yang Wu had unlocked all kinds of extraordinary talents in the human body. These talents were in the various acupoints. For example, the acupoints under the feet could increase speed, the acupoints on the palms could explode with more power, and the acupoints in the waist and abdomen could strengthen the body's functions. After Yang Wu finished refining the few pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stones in his hands, he had opened 197 acupoints. He was still 3 away from 200 acupoints, and he no longer had any low-grade Xian spirit stones in his hands. Just as he was feeling that it was a pity, Little Hay spat out a few pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stones at him. He revealed a bashful expression and said, "I knew you loved me." When Little Hay heard these words, she stuck out her tongue and vomited on the spot. Yang Wu directly ignored Little Hay's expression and silently changed the previous sentence in his heart: "Whoever obtains Little Hay will obtain the world." Chapter 91. It was dawn. The sun gradually climbed up the treetops, and a wisp of purple qi penetrated through the treetops. A young man was sitting cross-legged under a large tree. The clothes on his upper body were already in tatters, revealing his well-proportioned and sturdy body. His skin was as smooth as jade, like a newborn baby. Anyone who saw him could not help but caress him. After the young man absorbed the wisp of purple qi, a strange sound suddenly erupted from his body, like the roaring of a river. The turbulent momentum was unstoppable. 209 acupoints were completely connected, and the power contained in those acupoints seemed to have turned into liquid, sparkling and dazzling like dewdrop. His body was like a vast galaxy, spectacular and dazzling. The acupoints were like stars. This was the sign of stepping into the realm of top warriors. Yang Wu had refined a total of 20 low-grade Xian spirit stones and a wisp of purple qi to break through 200 acupoints and reach the realm of top warriors in one fell swoop. If an ordinary warrior had 5 low-grade Xian spirit stones, it would not be difficult for him to advance by 1 level. However, he needed 10 low-grade Xian spirit stones and that wisp of purple qi to break through to that level. It was enough to show how strong his foundation was. Originally, when Yang Wu had refined the low-grade Xian spirit stones he had obtained, he already had the opportunity to break through. But in the end, why did he still need so many Xian spirit stones to reach his current realm? The reason was that Yang Wu had broken through another of the 8 extraordinary meridians, the unblocking meridian. The unblocking meridian, from the top to the bottom, connected all the meridians in the body. It could regulate the qi and blood of the 12 standard meridians, and was also known as the Blood Sea. Once the unblocking meridian was opened, the divine court would gain the most. The qi and blood would be endlessly supplied from the bottom to the top, causing Yang Wu's divine court to expand by several times. Everything that happened within a radius of 5 kilometers couldn't escape Yang Wu's eyes and ears, and he could sense the slightest change clearly. Generally speaking, if one could open the governor and conception meridians in the general realm, one would have enough capital to break through to the king realm. There was at least a 20% to 30% chance of success. Most warriors only broke through the unblocking meridians after becoming a king. However, Yang Wu was just a small warrior, and he had already opened 3 major meridians. As long as he could continue to grow, becoming a king would be a piece of cake. The benefits of opening the 3 major meridians were extremely great, and Yang Wu quickly realized this. He realized that the Xian Qi in his body was circulating at an extremely fast speed. It was at least a few times faster than before, perhaps even a dozen times faster. This was not only because of the breakthrough in level, but also because of the opening of the 3 major meridians. The advantage of circulating Xian Qi faster was that one could attack faster, convert Xian Qi faster, and absorb the Xian Qi of heaven and earth faster. These changes could make a warrior stronger in battle. In addition, the warlike bloodline talent in his body was activated, and he could enter the state of high fighting intent at any time. He did not need to go through a round of killing to enter the state like before. This kind of fighting intent talent seemed to be innate to Yang Wu, but he did not know what was going on. These were not the things that surprised Yang Wu the most. What surprised him the most was that he could achieve the ability of inner vision, which only warriors in the general realm could do. The so-called inner vision was to be able to clearly see the internal organs, meridians, and bones in one's body through the senses of the divine court. Only in this way could one have a detailed understanding of one's body's condition and make better improvements in one's training. After looking at his normal and vigorous internal organs, Yang Wu's eyes fell on the peach pit in his dantian. He could not help exclaiming, "My broken dantian was replaced by the peach pit." Before he was sent to prison, Yang Wu's dantian had been destroyed. He had no hope of continuing to practice martial arts. But when he met Little Hay gave him the peach pit. At that time, he felt that it was extraordinary, so he put it away. Later, he did not know why it disappeared. Now he completely understood that the peach pit had replaced his dantian and become a part of his body. It helped him refine his body of martial arts and set foot on the path of martial arts again. I put the peach pit in my belt back then. How did it get into my stomach? Yang Wu was very confused. Then, his divine court throbbed. Suddenly, he felt that Little Hay, who was not far away, was taking a nap. In fact, he felt that it seemed to be opening its eyes. Everything around him was within its senses. This made Yang Wu feel very astonished. He muttered to himself, "Why do I feel like Little Hay is opening its eyes? Could this be Little Hay's spiritual sense?" Just as Yang Wu was feeling confused, Little Hay, who was taking a nap, suddenly opened its eyes. A consciousness collided with Yang Wu's divine court consciousness. Yang Wu immediately received a message. "Kid, you've actually opened your divine spiritual aperture." When Yang Wu sensed this message, he jumped in fright. Why do I feel like Little Hay is talking to me? Is it an illusion? What illusion? This immortal emperor is talking to you." Little Hay's voice sounded again. This time, Little Hay wasn't actually speaking to Yang Wu. Instead, it was using its consciousness to collide with Yang Wu's, allowing Yang Wu to hear what it wanted to say. So it really wasn't an illusion. "I can hear Little Hay's words," Yang Wu said happily. He paused for a moment before adding, "Little Hay, your words sound so childish. It seems like you haven't been weaned for long. How pitiful. Fortunately, you followed a good master like me." "Woof woof, kid, what nonsense are you spouting? This immortal emperor has lived for who knows how many millions of years. In this immortal emperor's eyes, you're the child who hasn't been weaned yet. If you dare to spout nonsense again, I'll make your butt bloom. Little Hay bared its teeth. Yang Wu clutched his butt and laughed. Haha, Little Hay is just joking with you. During this period of time, it's all thanks to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to improve so quickly. Thank you. In Yang Wu's eyes, Little Hay was his savior. He didn't view it as an ordinary spirit pet. At least you know what's good for you. You didn't let me feed you the immortal peach core and teach you the regal 9 profound mantra for nothing. It's a pity that your cultivation talent is too low. If it was master, someone else would be many times more powerful than you, Little Hay said proudly. At this moment it no longer looked like an ordinary little spirit dog. Instead, it looked more like a powerful living being that was looking down on Yang Wu. At this moment, Yang Wu finally realized that everything he had regained was given to him by Little Hay. It wasn't because of his heaven-defying luck. Yang Wu scratched his head in embarrassment. I just broke through to the top-notch warrior realm. Even if I encounter a general realm cultivator, I can take them down with a wave of my hand. Oh, you really think you're invincible? What a frog at the bottom of a well, Little Hay said disdainfully. Then Little Hay, tell me, who else can be as powerful as me? Yang Wu retorted. You're still not convinced? All of the super prodigies at the same cultivation level as you have already opened all 8 of their meridians, awakened their martial bodies, psychic abilities, and formed a golden lotus in the divine court realm. They can even take on a battle monarch with ease. Little Hay replied seriously. Is there really such a powerful existence? Yang Wu was instantly speechless. Of course. Only those who have opened all 720 acupoints in their body can be considered a true martial body. Those who are born with a martial body have already opened their spiritual acupoints. They either have special pupils, are born with divine strength, or possess 2 souls. Their appearances are astonishing, and they have all sorts of unfathomable abilities. For example, your brother Shou Ho has awakened the fiery golden eyes, which is one of the most powerful special pupils. Also, that girl Little Man has an innate barbarian body. Both of them are excellent martial bodies. Only you have mediocre talent. If you weren't the fated one to break this immortal emperor's seal, this immortal emperor wouldn't even care if you lived or died. Little Hay sat on the ground with its hind legs crossed. Its forelegs were folded like a human hand as it spoke in a very unique manner. So Shou Ho and Little Man's talents are so outstanding. No wonder you were so close to Little Man. But why didn't you treat Shou Ho better? If he could get your help, he might have already surpassed me. Yang Wu didn't feel disappointed or jealous when he heard that Shou Ho and Little Man's physiques were stronger than his. Instead, he complained that Little Hay didn't treat Shou Ho better. Little Hay said unhappily, if this immortal emperor had to treat someone with an outstanding martial body well, how could this immortal emperor live? But he's my brother, Yang Wu said worriedly. Now, he was very clear that Little Hay was very amazing. He didn't doubt it at all and hoped that it would be able to help Shou Ho. Unfortunately, Shou Ho had already been captured by the barbarian tribe. He was still very worried and didn't know if Shou Ho had met with misfortune. After he activated his eyes of fire and gold, the talent he has is definitely not what you can imagine. Even without my guidance, he will be able to catch up to you very quickly and even surpass you, Little Hay said. After a pause it said, you've already broken through to the next realm. Hurry up and find that big guy from last night to practice. Don't waste time and get stronger as soon as possible. The black steel bear isn't dead yet? Yang Wu said in surprise. He thought that the black steel bear had already been killed by that top-notch barbarian general. Little Hay said with a sly look in its eyes, its skin is thick and its flesh is thick. How could it die so easily? It's only a little injured and its battle strength has been halved. It's perfect for you to practice. Moreover, there are still some things in its den that I haven't had time to collect. You go and take it, and I'll go collect its belongings. Don't tell me that you got those Xian spirit stones from the Black Steel Bear's den? Yang Wu asked. Woof, woof, of course. Why else would I go there? That blockhead's battle strength isn't bad and can be considered the leader of this area. It wouldn't be wrong for him to have some treasures. Little Hay proudly replied. Yang Wu revealed a fawning expression and said, Little Hay, if I take care of that Black Steel Bear, can you give me a few more Xian spirit stones or old medicines as a reward? There are no rewards. Little Hay decisively shook its head and said, Don't. Didn't you say that I'm the fated person for you to break the seal? With our relationship, a few Xian spirit stones and old medicines are nothing. Little Hay, you're incomparably handsome and have unparalleled divine skills. You're the one and only divine hound that is generous and generous. You can't be so stingy. These words are pleasing to the ears. I've decided to teach you the heaven and earth technique so that you don't have to make this immortal emperor collect those disgusting heads for you. Chapter 92. The universe of absorption technique allowed one to use a universal space to store external objects, saving them the trouble of carrying them around. Universal spaces were rare in the mortal world, and only the great factions of countries had them. Each one of them was priceless, and it was almost impossible for Yang Wu to obtain one. However, there was a secret technique called the universe of absorption technique that allowed one to open a universal space within their body and store things inside. However, this secret technique did not belong to the mortal world. For Little Hay to possess such a technique, it was clear how extraordinary its origins were. Yang Wu said with incomparable joy, Little Hay, come, trample on me as much as you want. Ever since he had learned of Little Hay's abilities, he naturally hoped that Little Hay could teach him more. He could not wait to become even more powerful. Don't be so smug. The universe of absorption technique is an immortal technique, and it is not something that can be cultivated by mortals. You've already swallowed the immortal peach core, which has given you an immortal body, so I want to see if you have the same ability, Little Hay said. Is that peach core really that powerful? Yang Wu asked. Of course not. The immortal peach core blossoms every 30,000 years, bears fruit every 30,000 years, and ripens every 30,000 years. Anyone who eats it will gain immortality and return to their youth. As for its core, it is the crystallization of the immortal peach core. If you swallow it, you'll gain an immortal body. Can't you feel how miraculous it is? Little Hay rolled its eyes as it spoke. Speaking of this, it recalled its sad past. If it hadn't been tricked by Monkey Goo to steal the immortal peach core, it would not have been sent to the mortal world to suffer. Yang Wu nodded repeatedly. I can feel it. It really is miraculous. Then hurry up and teach me the universe of absorption technique. I think I can do it. Release your divine court and pay attention to receiving the chance. Little Hay nodded, then shot out an inexplicable force from between her eyebrows and rushed into Yang Wu's forehead. Yang Wu's god's spiritual orifice had already been opened, so he could withstand Little Hay's power. When this power entered his god's court, a chant rang out in his mind. The human body is the universe. With the god's court as the virtual world and the dantian as the furnace, one can store the chi of heaven and earth. With the art of heaven and earth, and with the help of the divine consciousness, one can open up a world and accommodate the universe. This chant was not difficult to understand. It required the use of the chi of heaven and earth, and the divine consciousness to open up a space in one's dantian, thus achieving the ability to store things. Unconsciously, Yang Wu tried it according to the incantation. He used his divine sense of the divine court to combine with the chi in his dantian. That Chong meridian came into effect and was instantly connected. There seemed to be a tense connection between the two. They could communicate with each other, so he could see his body more clearly. As for the peach pit dantian, he could see it clearly in his mind. There was no mistake at all. He could see it much more clearly than ordinary inner vision. At the same time, he also discovered that there was an indiscernible and untouchable chi in his god's court. It was formless and formless, but it always existed. It was the divine consciousness. Now, the spiritual power of the divine court was like an invisible flower bud that had just bloomed. It was also known as the spirit aperture. The spirit aperture was completely different from ordinary apertures. It was a hidden aperture, and some people could not open it in their entire lives, even if they were peerless masters. However, once the spirit aperture was opened, the spiritual power would continue to grow and bring about endless benefits. Right now, Yang Wu wanted to practice the art of taking in heaven and earth. The first condition was to open the spirit aperture and connect it with the dantian. Only then could he complete this step. To open up another space in my body, I must guide the divine consciousness, spirit, and chi to combine and condense into a new shimi power to form a world of its own. Yang Wu looked at the situation in his body and muttered to himself. Then, he used the spiritual strength and chi to condense together, preparing to open up a small world. This small world was chosen by Yang Wu to be above the dantian, near the intersection of the stomach and the navel. It was the most ideal position. Under the entanglement of the two completely different powers, the power in the dantian kept surging. It fell to the abdomen position selected by Yang Wu and began to form a small space. The power of Shumi formed a screen and surrounded the empty space, forming a small vacuum area, isolating the internal organs and meridians in the body. It was as if another internal organ had automatically formed in the body. It was not material, but a small world condensed by power. However, the small world was pathetically small. It felt like it could not even hold something the size of a little finger. Yang Wu came back to his senses from meditation and found that the sun was already high in the sky. He sighed and said, "It's true that there is no time in cultivation." Then, he said to Little Hay, who was not far away, "Little Hay, I've already opened up the Qiankuan space that you taught me, but it feels so small." Little Hay jumped up and wagged its little tail as it came to Yang Wu. It barked twice, then used its consciousness to communicate with Yang Wu. "Woof, woof, I just taught you the Qiankuan space this morning. It's only been half a day and you've already opened it?" "Yes, there should be no mistake. The spiritual strength and chi can be combined to open up a vacuum area in the abdomen. That should be the location of the Qiankuan space." Yang Wu nodded in response. Then, he said, "After I condensed most of my spiritual strength and chi, I could only open up a small space. I guess it can be considered a failure. Whether it's a failure or not, we'll know once we try to take this stone." Little Hay used its front paw to point at a medium-sized stone to the side and said, "All right, I'll give it a try," Yang Wu said as he looked at the stone that was about the size of a human head. Then, he stared at the stone. 1 look, 2 looks, 3 looks. After a long while, his eyes began to feel sore and uncomfortable, but the stone did not move at all. Yang Wu looked at Little Hay and said dejectedly, "It really failed." "It really failed? Do you know how to put it away?" Little Hay asked in confusion. "Isn't it just looking at it and thinking about it enough to put it away?" Yang Wu hesitated for a moment before replying with a question. Little Hay rolled its eyes and rolled over on the ground. It looked as if it had been defeated and said, "You idiot, if you want to put something away, you have to use your consciousness and spiritual strength to sense it and summon it into your space." Yang Wu's face reddened. He coughed lightly and said, "Ahem, that? Why didn't you say so earlier? You almost made me cry. What can I do about an idiot like you?" Little Hay continued to roll on the ground as it rolled its eyes. Yang Wu was extremely disdainful. He immediately used his consciousness and spiritual strength to sense the stone. Then, he yelled, "Store!" Right at this moment, the stone that had been right in front of him suddenly disappeared. Yang Wu used his inner vision to look at his abdomen. He discovered that there was an additional stone in that small space, and this stone took up about 1/10 of the space. According to this ratio, this small space was about half the size of a square meter. Yang Wu exclaimed with joy, "The Qiankuan space can really store things. Do you know how big the space is now? Is it about the size of a stone?" Little He crawled up and asked. Yang Wu replied, "No, it's a little bigger than this." Little He asked in surprise, "Is it about the size of 2 stones? I think it should be able to store about 10 stones." Yang Wu pondered for a moment before replying. Little He's canine eyes shone with a sharp light as it stared directly at Yang Wu's body. Yang Wu felt as if he was naked in front of Little He. He hurriedly covered his crotch and said nervously, "Little He, what are you doing? What are you covering up for? Your little bird is nothing in front of me. I'm just checking to see if you're lying. The first time you opened up a Qiankuan space, it was only about half the size of a square meter. Your perception and aptitude are only so. Little He said disdainfully. In reality, it was secretly astonished. This brat's cultivation talent isn't all that outstanding, but he has great potential in the future. The Qiankuan space that he just opened up is actually so big. It's obvious that his spiritual sense and profound energy have combined perfectly. It must have a lot to do with the peach pit and the primordial profound energy." Yang Wu felt very hurt. He kicked Little He and said, "Little He, it's fine if you want to insult me, but you can't insult my little brother. This is too much." After receiving Yang Wu's kick, Little He threatened, "If you dare to be disrespectful to this immortal emperor, be careful that this immortal emperor doesn't teach you any immortal techniques in the future. Don't even think about getting any old medicines or spirit medicines." Yang Wu immediately admitted defeat and said, "Haha, Little He, don't be angry. It was just an accident. Come, let's go take care of that big guy." Little He naturally couldn't be bothered to bicker with Yang Wu. It quickly jumped onto Yang Wu's shoulder and went with Yang Wu to find a black steel bear to practice with. Before leaving, Yang Wu put the heads of the brute generals into his Qiankuan space. He comforted himself by saying, "Putting the heads of dead people into my body can ward off evil. Yes, that must be it." Soon, Yang Wu arrived at the black steel bear's territory. Many of the nearby trees were broken, and the weeds and rocks were in a mess. It was obvious that this was the result of the battle last night. "Little He, where's that guy?" Yang Wu asked Little He, who was on his shoulder. "It's in the cave up ahead." Little He pointed in a direction and said, "Black Steel Bear, hurry up and come out. This Viscount will take you on," Yang Wu shouted with an expression of extreme desire for battle. For some reason, after he opened his meridians, the blood in his body became more and more intense. There was a battle intent surging in his blood, as if urging him to find a battle. Now was the time. Under Yang Wu's clamor, a large black bear charged out of the cave. It was the black steel bear that Yang Wu had encountered last night. It waved its arms and shouted angrily, "Human, you were the one who provoked me last night. Did you steal the treasure in my cave?" Yang Wu faced the black steel bear again without any fear. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit and said, "This Viscount disdains being a thief. This little guy is the real thief. Woof, woof, don't talk nonsense. This celestial emperor can take something from it. That's its blessing," Little He said unhappily. "Little He, you're right. It's this big guy's blessing. Call me Lord Celestial Emperor from now on. That name doesn't sound as domineering as Little He's. You all deserve to die." The black steel bear saw that the human and dog were ignoring it. It finally charged toward Yang Wu in a rage. Chapter 93. Last night, the black steel bear had just fought with a top-level barbarian general. Its injuries were not light. There was a cracked wound on its abdomen, and the bloodstains were still clearly visible. However, it did not seem to be affected by its injuries. When it ran, it moved like a moving mountain. Its feet stepped on the ground, causing the nearby mountains to shake. Its momentum could be said to be quite shocking. Yang Wu looked at the big guy and shouted, "Little He, watch how I deal with this big guy." Little He replied calmly, "I won't help you this time. I'll watch you be beaten into a pig's head. You have so little confidence in me. Kill." After Yang Wu responded unhappily, he went up to the black steel bear. He formed a seal with his palms and threw out 2 palms across the air. 2 streams of qi containing spiral force reached 15 meters and rushed toward the black steel bear. Roar! The black steel bear roared and spat out a powerful force from its mouth. The black qi rushed out like the wind and directly met the power of Yang Wu's palms. The 2 different forces collided and competed to see who was stronger. As a result, the black steel bear's power was much more domineering. It wiped out Yang Wu's power and still had the remaining power to attack Yang Wu. Yang Wu's eyes flickered, and his body moved like a ghost. He dodged to the side, and the power lost its target and blasted the trees behind him, turning them into powder. The black steel bear chased after him and roared, "You're dead meat, human!" The black steel bear aimed at Yang Wu's position and slapped him with one of its paws. The demon qi condensed into a giant palm, which contained a terrifying power. The surrounding air was pushed aside like ripples in the wind. This palm had at least 70 to 80 cauldrons of strength. Once hit, even a high-level general realm expert would die. "Let me see how much my strength has increased." Yang Wu muttered to himself and bounced forward like a bow. He first drew back his fist and then threw it out. A fist light flashed. Inch punch. The light from the punch was not very long, but the power was extremely concentrated and contained an extremely strong explosive force. Bang! After the 2 forces collided again, the fist and the palm exploded at the same time. The power scattered to the left and right, turning many of the weeds into powder and dust. When the black steel bear saw that the puny human had blocked its power, it roared in dissatisfaction. The bear turned its back to Yang Wu and charged at him. Bareback Mountain. The black steel bear was known for its strength. Its strong body could move mountains and fill seas. Its strength was even more domineering. Yang Wu secretly shouted, "I'll use you to practice my fist and palm." The power in Yang Wu's palms condensed, and he took a lunge. Both of his palms struck out with earth-shattering force. Mountain collapsing palm. Yang Wu had practiced the inch punch and the mountain collapsing palm, but he had only reached the microscopic state. He had not been able to fully exert their power. Now, he wanted to thoroughly use the combat skills of the fist and palm in the battle and reach the proficient or advanced level. When Yang Wu's palm landed on the black steel bear, he felt a strong rebound force which knocked him back. "Again!" Yang Wu exclaimed. He turned his palm into a fist and punched at the black steel bear. The black steel bear was completely obsessed with Yang Wu. It kept slapping its powerful bear paws, using its strong body to slam into Yang Wu, and even spitting out powerful demonic energy from its mouth. It could be said that it was using everything it had, determined to tear this human apart alive. However, although this human seemed to be weaker than it, his reaction was like a monkey. He jumped around randomly, which made it unable to attack him at all. It even suffered a lot from him, which really annoyed it. During the battle, Yang Wu repeatedly used the inch punch and the mountain collapsing palm to understand the mystery and enhance the efficiency of his attack. He had already practiced the stormy spear technique and the wave whirling palm to the perfect stage. His understanding of combat skills was no longer comparable to before. As he repeatedly switched, his fighting became more smooth and natural. His understanding of the 2 combat skills deepened rapidly. The inch punch mainly focused on the speed of the punch and the craftiness of the attack. It was fine if one did not punch, but once one punched, it would definitely hit the vital point. It would not be sloppy. Moreover, the power of the attack was concentrated, and the lethality of the attack was extremely strong. The mountain collapsing palm gathered the power in the palm and burst it out in an instant. It was the type of combat skill that could topple mountains and overturn seas. Yang Wu used the ability of the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance to speed up his movements. When he could dodge the Black Steel Bear's attack, he would use the Inch Punch. When he could not dodge, he would use the Mountain Collapsing Palm. The power of the Peach Core Dantian in his body was constantly supplying him with power. The power of the explosion was getting stronger and stronger. Finally, he was able to perform these two combat skills to the proficient stage. All of this was because his god's spiritual aperture in the god's court had been opened, so his comprehension and understanding ability were no longer comparable to before. The more the Black Steel Bear fought, the crazier it became. Its power was being consumed, and its wounds were worsening. If this continued, it would definitely fall first. It could not continue fighting like this. It had to end the battle quickly. After the Black Steel Bear roared a few times, the power of the armor on its body suddenly exploded. A powerful force exploded with it as the center. Yang Wu was caught off guard and was sent flying while vomiting blood. Even Little Hay, who was on his shoulder, had fled early. When Yang Wu fell to the ground, the Black Steel Bear slammed its paws heavily on the ground. Two tearing forces were transmitted from the ground to Yang Wu, who had not had time to get up yet. The shock caused him to bounce off the ground again. The Black Steel Bear rushed over like a cannonball and slammed into Yang Wu's body with its shoulder. The impact sent Yang Wu flying dozens of feet away, and the trees around him were broken. The situation looked quite tragic. Little Hay hid on the other side and looked in Yang Wu's direction. She sighed and said, "So weak." The Black Steel Bear's chain of attacks was really beautiful. It said with incomparable satisfaction, this time, that humans should be dead. The Black Steel Bear was not in a good state. It attacked with all its strength, and the wound from last night burst open again. Its abdomen was bleeding again, and it had used up a lot of energy. It had less than 30% of its strength left. How could Yang Wu, who was sent flying, die so easily? His body had been tempered by the companion wolf blood crystal, so his endurance was naturally better than others. Moreover, he had an immortal body. After this round of attacks, his injuries were not light. However, it also made him realize that even if he had broken through to become a top warrior, there was still a big gap between him and a top demon general. The slightest carelessness could cause him to fall into a situation where he would not be able to survive. Yang Wu circulated the profound qi in his body. The 12 standard meridians and 3 mysterious meridians flowed at a speed many times faster than before. The injuries on his body were instantly healed by half. When he stood up, his injuries were already half healed. This kind of recovery speed was astonishing. "Big guy, you really hurt me!" After Yang Wu shouted, he madly ran towards the Black Steel Bear. At this moment, the battle intent in his body was pushed to the extreme. He did not plan to hold back anymore. A different kind of power rose from his body. An indescribable battle intent merged with the death intent in his divine court, forming a power of influence. It was as if he was the incarnation of the Battle King, invisibly affecting his opponent's battle intent. After the Black Steel Bear felt it, its fierce bear eyes revealed a bit of fear. It murmured, Could this be the power of a king? How is this possible?" Not far away, Little Hay also revealed a trace of astonishment. She muttered to herself, "This brat gave birth to the power of a king just like that?" The power of a king was a battle intent that could only be produced after reaching the realm of a king. It could increase one's battle confidence and battle strength. Ordinary people would be scared to the point that their legs would go soft when facing the power of a king. This was the legendary feeling of prestige without being angry. Yang Wu was only a small warrior, but he could actually produce the power of a king. This could only mean that he was extraordinarily talented. Once the power of a king was produced before reaching the realm of a king, then they would definitely become a king in the future. Moreover, their achievements would be much more powerful than ordinary kings. Apart from that, there were other wonderful uses. Yang Wu would have to discover all of these by himself. Yang Wu ran faster and faster. As the power flowed, the injuries on his body had completely healed. He was in the same state as before, as if he had never been injured. The black steel bear retreated again and again. In the end, it turned around and fled into its cave. It had already lost the courage to fight. "Brat, that's enough. Stop," Little Hay suddenly said to Yang Wu. At this moment, Yang Wu could not hear Little Hay's words. His power had already reached its peak. If he did not vent it, he would explode. He replied, "I can't stop." Yang Wu struck out with both palms. He did not aim at the black steel bear, but at the mountain where its cave was located. Boom! A terrifying explosion rang out. A large part of the mountain was instantly destroyed, and rocks tumbled down. As soon as the black steel bear returned to its cave, it was buried by a large number of rocks. Clouds of dust filled the air, and the commotion was extremely shocking. Yang Wu stopped and sighed softly. "How can my power be so powerful? I can't even control it." Little Hay quickly rushed over. It used its divine sense to speak. "Brat, you've only just condensed your power of a king. You haven't fully mastered it yet, so it's normal for you to lose control. That big guy is really unlucky. It wants to kill us, so why is it stopping me from killing it?" Yang Wu asked Little Hay. "It's not easy for any living being to cultivate. If there's no enmity between us, why must we fight to the death? We can use virtue to convince others," Little Hay said in a wise tone. Immediately afterward, it ran towards the collapsed cave. Yang Wu could only follow. Soon, they saw the black steel bear push itself out of the cave. It was in an extremely sorry state, but fortunately, there were no fatal injuries. When it saw Yang Wu, it immediately revealed an expression of fear and said, "Human, please let me go." Before Yang Wu could say anything, Little Hay had already replied for Yang Wu, "I can let you go. You can be our mount." Chapter 94. "That's a good idea." Yang Wu immediately agreed. Previously, when the Wolf King wanted to become his mount, he did not accept it. It was not that he did not like it, but the Wolf King was too frightening and would attract all kinds of trouble. Now, the Black Steel Bear was a top-level demon general and had not yet reached the Demon King realm. It was not that frightening, but it could intimidate the weak. It was the most suitable mount. Moreover, the barbarians were chasing after him. With the Black Steel Bear around, he could relax a lot. The Black Steel Bear did not dare to resist. It immediately lay down and said, "I'm willing to be your mount." In fact, it had already sensed the incomparable demon chi on Little Hay's body. It was not something it could resist. "Okay, hurry up and move the things out of your nest. Let's leave this place first," Little Hay replied. Yang Wu ignored them and sat down cross-legged to recover the energy he had expended. He wanted to figure out where the so-called king's power that suddenly burst out from his body came from. Yang Wu once again looked inside his body. He found that the mysterious energy essence in his peach core dantian was gradually growing stronger. It seemed that he did not need to deliberately gather his energy. It could still recover automatically, but the speed was slower. In addition, the invisible spiritual flower bud in his divine court seemed to be about to bloom. Once the flower bud fully bloomed, he might reach the stage where Little Hay said, "Divine Court Lotus." His spiritual power would reach a very powerful realm. Yang Wu circulated the Xian formula. Under the effect of a few large circulations, he recovered to his original state. The energy in the peach core had also increased by a lot. It seemed that it would not be a problem for him to break through the acupoints again. After every battle, the potential of the body is excavated. It seems that only through continuous battles can one's realm rise faster. This might be the path of the War King of Death. What I'm facing now is just child's play, Yang Wu thought to himself. Ever since he joined the Death Legion, he had gone through a few battles, but he was still far from the sense of urgency of death. He still needed more intense battles. Half an hour later, the black steel bear carried out all the treasures in its cave. There weren't many treasures left, but there were some items that weren't bad, especially that stalk of black Ganoderma. It looked to be quite old, and belonged to a low-grade spirit medicine. It could prolong one's life, and could also help increase one's profound energy. Little Hay, on the other hand, kept all of these items away, not giving Yang Wu any chance to snatch them away. Little Hay, as a human, no, as a dog, you have to be kind. Since you've taken so many things from this big guy, you should at least give me some. Give me that black Ganoderma, Yang Wu said to Little Hay while rubbing his hands. It would be a waste to give it to you. Little Hay replied bluntly. How is it a waste? I'm still waiting to increase my strength as soon as possible, Yang Wu replied in dissatisfaction. I plan to refine this medicine into a pill, Little Hay said again. Refine pills? Little Hay, you even know how to refine pills? Yang Wu said with a surprised expression. This immortal emperor is omnipotent, Little Hay said with its head held high. Then it said, all right, let's hurry up and leave. The fight just now has already attracted your enemies over. The big guy is still injured, so it's not good for him to continue fighting. After Yang Wu heard Little Hay's words, he calmed his heart and sensed for a moment. He immediately discovered that there was indeed movement 5 kilometers away. He revealed a longing expression and said, Why are we leaving? We didn't have enough fun fighting just now. It's just right for us to fight another round now. Your courage is commendable. Then we'll leave first. After Little Hay praised him, it shamelessly climbed onto the black steel bear's shoulder and called for it to leave together. Yang Wu was quite angry at Little Hay. He angrily said, Little Hay, I've seen through you. I don't want to stay behind and die with you, Little Hay lazily replied. Blackie replied lazily. After a pause it added, There's a king in their camp. Damn, why didn't you say so earlier? Yang Wu let out a strange cry and hurriedly caught up to Little Hay and the black steel bear. He jumped onto the black steel bear's back and enjoyed the feeling of being a mount. The black steel bear ran very quickly. In just a few blinks of an eye, it was already more than 1,000 feet away. Although this big guy isn't the best mount, it's still passable, Yang Wu thought to himself. In his heart, the most ideal mount was the mighty tiger mount, lion mount, wolf mount, or the soaring eagle mount, crane mount, and so on. The black steel bear didn't look too good. Big guy, do you know where the pool is? Yang Wu asked the black steel bear. He remembered Sun Rue's words, meet the water and transform into a dragon. He might not be able to transform into a dragon, but he could use the dragon turtle water suppression stance to increase his strength again. I know, master. However, there's a powerful existence in the pool. It might be a demon king. I don't dare to go near it, the black steel bear replied. There's a demon king? Little Hay, can you handle it? Yang Wu sighed softly, then looked at Little Hay and asked. Little Hay pondered for a moment and said, It's not advisable for you to come into contact with beings of that level now. Although they aren't much, they will give you quite a bit of pressure. Just find a place with a water source and dry up. The black steel bear nodded and led them in a certain direction. 5 kilometers away, Huang Fu Taigeng, Shi Shafeng, and Huang Fu Mingyu were riding on the giant tusk elephant and rushing over quickly. At this moment, the barbarian generals beside them had been arranged to split up and search for people. There were less than 10 riders left with them. When did my clan's Lang become so weak? He can't even catch 2 great Xia commoners, Shi Shafeng said with dissatisfaction. All these years, the great Xia has been training their people in order to produce another battle king of death. In recent years, a rose of death has indeed appeared. Their physique is not as good as my clan's, but their talent is not inferior to ours. Therefore, my clan's Lang also needs more training. Don't think that you're invincible among your peers just because of your brute strength, Huang Fu Taigeng said. 8th grandfather, let me train too. Huang Fu Mingyu said coquettishly. Haha, this place is too close to the Great Xia's territory. I can't let you take this risk, Huang Fu Taiging said with a smile. Huang Fu Mingyu glanced at Shou Ho, who was tied up behind them, and asked Huang Fu Taiging, 8th grandfather, now that you can confirm that elder sister is in the Great Xia, why don't you just kill this commoner? Why are you bringing him along? Shou Ho was not dead yet, but he was in a worse state than death. He was in a state where he would rather be dead than dead. This was because the memories in his mind had been forcibly taken away by Huang Fu Taiging last night, injuring his shunting. If he didn't have a top-notch elixir, he would be completely crippled. This brat is just a small hostage. It won't be easy to kill him. However, he has an extraordinary relationship with Princess Mingzhu. He might be of some use if we keep him alive, Huang Fu Taiging replied. Then what should we do next to bring the princess back? Shi Shafeng asked. What we need now is an opportunity. No matter what, we have to capture that commoner of the Great Xia who is related to Princess Mingzhu. I will control them as puppets and let them bring the princess out. When the time comes, we will provide support. This is a foolproof plan. Huang Fu Taiging's old eyes flickered as he spoke. Then we will continue to pursue him. If my clanslang still hasn't captured him by today, I will make a move to avoid unnecessary trouble, Shi Shafeng said. Huang Fu Taiging nodded slightly and replied softly, Okay. After pausing for a moment, he glanced in a direction and shouted, Come out, you scoundrel hiding in the shadows! Immediately after, he pointed his finger in a direction. A golden ray of light from his finger streaked across a distance of hundreds of feet and landed on a rock. It directly pierced through the rock, and a figure hidden behind the rock rushed out. This figure did not immediately escape. Instead, she leaped into the air, and a pair of black xian wings spread open. Black xian qi flickered, appearing extremely dazzling. This person was wrapped in tight-fitting black clothes, and her curvaceous figure was clearly displayed. Her face was covered with a veil, and her appearance could not be seen clearly. Only a pair of extremely cold eyes could be seen. Xian Qi transformed into wings. This was a female monarch. After seeing this female monarch, Shi Shafeng's expression became tense. He shouted, Protect Princess Mingyu and retreat. I will deal with her. General Shi, can't you take her down? Huang Fu Mingyu asked. Naturally, I can take her down. However, I will alarm the Great Xia's monarchs. When that happens, there will be some trouble, Shi Shafeng said. Huang Fu Taiging made a prompt decision and said, Mingyu, follow me. The strongest person here was not Shi Shafeng, but Huang Fu Taiging. However, he would not attack again. His mission was to find the person and protect Huang Fu Mingyu. Huang Fu Mingyu was somewhat unwilling. She still wanted to see the intense battle between monarchs. None of you will be able to leave, the black-clothed female monarch said coldly. A strange black broadsword appeared in her hand, and she slashed towards the barbarians. Wherever the domineering broadsword passed, weeds would wither and trees would wither. This broadsword contained an extremely terrifying will of death. Shi Shafeng frowned and reprimanded, So it's the rose of death. Let me see if you have the means of the battle monarch of death. Shi Shafeng formed a seal with both hands, and a yellow palm struck towards the broadsword. During the process of impact, the palm rapidly transformed into a terrifying python, clashing with the black broadsword. Instantly, there was an explosion in all directions. Boom! Billowing waves of air swept out in all directions. Within a radius of 1 mile, the trees collapsed, sand and stones flew, and dust billowed. This was the destructive power caused by a battle between monarchs. The Rose of Death's attack was blocked, but she did not stop there. She flashed her profound wings, and her target was Huang Fu Mingyu. However, as one of the top 10 monarchs of the barbarian race, Shi Shafeng's cultivation level was above the Rose of Death. A pair of yellow profound wings spread out from his body, and he blocked the Rose of Death in advance like a goshawk. Both of his palms carried a domineering force as they repeatedly smashed towards the Rose of Death. The Rose of Death's eyes were ruthless. She raised her broadsword and faced the attacks head-on. The two monarchs fought fiercely in midair, causing a huge commotion. Chapter 95. In the forest, a black steel bear was running quickly. A handsome and resolute young man was sitting on its back, and a little hay dog was lying on the young man's shoulder. This combination was quite strange. A battle between sovereign personages. What a big commotion, Little Hay said while lying on Yang Wu's shoulder, looking in a certain direction. Transforming Xian Qi into wings and fighting in the air. How amazing! Yang Wu's eyes could also vaguely see the situation in the distance, and he revealed an extremely envious expression. The realms of warriors were divided into soldier, and general. These were the realms of ordinary warriors. Those who could reach the general realm were all at the master level. In the secular world, they were considered experts. However, those who surpassed the general realm were called kings. In reality, the realms were called Earthsea realms. To reach this realm, one had to transform the energy in their dantian into an ocean and transform it into a higher level of Xian Qi. They could then condense Xian wings and use the Xian wings to fly high in the sky. This was a realm that all warriors dreamed of. In the secular world, there were not many who had reached this realm. Only the great forces of the country would have more king-level experts. Yang Wu was just an insignificant warrior. He was not far from the general realm, but there was still a great distance between him and the Earthsea realm. Don't underestimate him. There was only the general realm between the two realms. Many warriors were stuck in the general realm and could never break through to the king realm. Yang Wu was still a young man. He had been wronged. He knew very well that if he could one day fly in the sky like the kings in battle, then he would be able to wash away the injustice on his body. He might even be conferred the title of Marquis and restore the glory of the Yang clan. So what if you are a king-level expert? As long as you listen to this immortal emperor, you will be able to look down on this world and become the #1 god of war. Little Hay said with a grand tone. #1 god of war? This dream seems a little far away. Yang Wu looked up and sighed. You are so useless, Little Hay said with disdain. I'll think about this when I become a king. Yang Wu didn't dare to think too far ahead, so he replied with a faint smile. Very quickly, they arrived at a place with a stream in the forest, and the battle between the two great human kings was already unable to affect this side. There was a group of wolf demons resting here. When they saw the black steel bear, they surrounded it one after another. Their eyes were filled with a strong sense of hunting. The black steel bear kept roaring, using its powerful demonic aura to intimidate the wolf demons. Unfortunately, no matter how it barked, it couldn't compare to Little Hay's gentle barks. When the wolf demons heard this voice, it was as if they had heard the command of their king. They quickly disappeared from the vicinity like a tide. This area was surrounded by green hills and clear waters. It was quite quiet and secluded. Yang Wu and his group stopped here to rest. Little Hay, didn't you say that you wanted to refine the black Ganoderma into a pill? Let's start now. Yang Wu said impatiently. Legendary alchemists were all extremely respected figures. Yang Wu also wanted to see how Little Hay refined pills. What's the rush? We still have to find some other medicinal herbs to complement it. You cultivate here, I'll go look for some herbs. Little Hay said and directly left Yang Wu to search for herbs. Yang Wu said to the black steel bear, Big guy, quickly heal your injuries and guard me while you're at it. I'm going to cultivate. Then, he ignored the black steel bear and walked toward the stream. After drinking a few mouthfuls of spring water, he stepped into the spring and stood up with the dragon turtle suppressing water stance. Now, he had to cultivate every second. He didn't think that he could relax just because he was out of danger. A king among the barbarians had made a move, so there would definitely be other barbarians coming for revenge. When Yang Wu entered a meditative state, the water of the stream surged toward him crazily. Wisps of water began to seep into his body, strengthening the power of his dantian. The pleasure of rapid improvement made him feel extremely comfortable. The power of all 209 acupoints in his body was replenished. Then, 3 more acupoints were broken through by the new mystical qi. A total of 212 acupoints were opened. Yang Wu wanted to use this opportunity to increase his strength and combat strength. However, he didn't enjoy it for long before he sensed something crashing down from the sky. Bang! The sound of the crash was very loud, and the spot where it hit was the stream. A lot of stream water splashed all over Yang Wu's body. He opened his eyes, which were filled with anger. It wasn't easy for him to enter a state of cultivation, but it was interrupted just like that. No one would be able to accept it. As for the black steel bear nearby, it was also shocked. It hurriedly ran over with a ferocious expression and glared at the uninvited guest. When Yang Wu saw what had fallen, he was completely dumbfounded. It was not a thing, but a living person. Moreover, it was a woman with an excellent figure. She was lying in the stream, and a lot of the stream water soaked her clothes. There was blood coming out of her mouth, and it was obvious that she was injured and had fainted. Yang Wu didn't even think about it. He walked over, picked up the woman, and put her down on the shore. This woman was dressed in tight black clothes, and had a perfect curvy figure. One could vaguely see her snow-white skin through her torn clothes, and anyone who saw her would feel their blood boil. Looking at her exquisite face that was not covered by anything, her black hair falling down like a waterfall, she was as seductive as a sleeping beauty. Yang Wu immediately felt his mouth and tongue go dry. A wave of fire rose from his body, and his lower abdomen immediately felt uncomfortable. Ba, don't look at indecent things. After Yang Wu chanted a Buddhist chant, he turned his face away and extended his hand to check the woman's qi. The qi was still there, but it was very weak and messy. Without saying a word, Yang Wu took out a healing pill and fed it to the woman. At this moment, the woman suddenly opened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with shock, scaring Yang Wu so much that his hand trembled and the pill fell to the ground. Yang Wu's willpower was not something an ordinary person could compare to, but this woman's gaze was too terrifying, as if it could pierce through his heart, causing him to feel suffocated and uncomfortable. Fortunately, the moment the woman opened her eyes, her gaze dimmed down, and she no longer had the threat she had before. Don't misunderstand, I just want to save you. Yang Wu looked at the woman and said sincerely. The woman looked at Yang Wu, slightly blinked her eyes, and then closed them again. It was unknown whether it was because her injuries were too severe, or because she couldn't speak. Yang Wu tried to say, I'll feed you the pill, open your mouth. The woman hesitated for a moment, and cooperatively opened her mouth slightly. Yang Wu then carefully placed the pill on the woman's jade lip. His finger couldn't help but slightly brush the woman's jade lips, causing the woman's eyelashes to tremble extremely violently. After Yang Wu finished, he said, I can only help you this much, whether or not you can recover depends on you. After saying this, Yang Wu stood guard at the side, very gentlemanly, not looking at indecent things, but his eyes were a little erratic, and his heart was constantly madly chanting, Ba, a demoness fell from the sky who can eat people, I'm afraid this demoness will eat me, Ba. This woman was not much older than Wan Lanxin, but she was more beautiful than Wan Lanxin, and her body was much more developed than Wan Lanxin's. It could be said that whether it was appearance or body, the woman in front of him was more outstanding than Wan Lanxin. Of course, in Yang Wu's eyes, the biggest difference between the two of them was not the difference in appearance, but the difference in temperament. This kind of temperament made Yang Wu not know how to describe it. It was like comparing a woman who was already perfect with a young girl who had not yet grown up. The difference between the two could not be closed. What made Yang Wu feel strange was that this kind of woman made him feel an inexplicable sense of closeness, as if there was an aura of the same origin that made it difficult for him to control himself. Just as Yang Wu thought that feeding the woman a healing pill would save her, he discovered that she was writhing in pain on the spot, and she could not help but groan in pain. Yang Wu was shocked, and he was about to approach again, but little He suddenly rushed back, released her divine sense, and exclaimed, "Don't go near that woman." This time, Yang Wu immediately stopped. Little He came to Yang Wu's side, looked at the woman, and said, "This woman's consciousness of death has erupted, and with your current strength, if you go near her, your will be affected by the consciousness of death, and you will be injured. The power she explodes with can even kill you." "She's that terrifying?" Yang Wu was tongue-tied. "She's one of the human kings who fought not long ago," Little He said. "Such a young human king, she's really too powerful," Yang Wu exclaimed with a hint of reverence. Then, he asked, "Can she still be saved?" "If she can survive, not only can she be saved, but her strength will also increase greatly. However, she's currently heavily injured, and even if you feed her a normal healing pill, it won't have much effect on her. Thus, the hope is very slim," Little He replied. "Then she really can't be saved?" Yang Wu said with a hint of pity. "In front of me, even the dead can be revived, let alone someone who hasn't died yet," Little He said proudly. "Then Little He, please save her." "Why should I beg her?" Yang Wu was indeed speechless. Why should Little He save a stranger? Moreover, it was not easy to be a good person these days. "If you want to save her, it's not impossible," Little He said, keeping him in suspense. "Then what should I do?" Yang Wu asked. "Help her share the power of the brand of death. However, if you do that, you might not be able to endure it. At that time, you'll be the one to die," Little He replied. Blackie replied. He paused for a moment before he added, "Of course, if you're able to endure the brand of death, then perhaps it'll be quite beneficial to you." Yang Wu hesitated for a moment, then glanced at the woman who was in pain. He steeled his heart and said, "Since she's fallen in front of me, I can't just stand by and watch her die. I'll share the power of the brand of death for her." "Brat, if you want to be a hero saving a damsel in distress, then just say it. Why do you have to make it sound so dignified? Little He, how can you doubt my Bodhisattva's heart of saving the dying and helping the injured?" Chapter 96. Sharing the burden of the brand of death was a very dangerous thing to do. The slightest carelessness could cause one to fall into an irrecoverable situation. Ordinary people would not want to take such a risk to save another person, but Yang Wu was actually willing to do so. Was he out of his mind? In fact, that was not the case. Yang Wu had an immortal body. He could easily dissolve the brand of death left behind by the Death War King. He was not like Su Xiaoqiang, who had the brand of death imprinted in his body. If he could not control it, he might explode. It was because of this that Yang Wu wanted to give it a try. Just as Little He said, he had the heart of a hero saving a beauty. With such a beauty in front of him, if he watched her die, his conscience would not be at ease. However, it was not easy to share the burden of the brand of death just because he wanted to. He also needed to share the burden of the brand of death with someone else. After Little He told Yang Wu how to share the burden of the brand of death with the woman, she left with the black steel bear, leaving the place to Yang Wu. She even gave Yang Wu an ambiguous look, as if hinting that Yang Wu was going to do something between a man and a woman. Yang Wu pretended not to understand, but he cursed in his heart, "What a perverted little dog! I am a true gentleman. Why would I take advantage of her?" He looked at the woman who was still in pain. He thought about tearing her clothes to transfer the brand of death. He could not help but gulp. Then, he put his palms together and murmured, "Amitba, Amitba." A female demon who can eat people fell from the sky. "I'm afraid she will eat me." Amitba then, he sat down cross-legged and thought about the method that Little He had just taught him. First, he would use the consciousness of the divine court to force out his own brand of death. Then, he would use the power of the same origin to sense the other party's brand of death. This might cause the other party's power to explode. Only then could he share the burden of the other party's brand of death. Come on. Yang Wu took a deep breath and activated his brand of death. After the battle with the barbarian generals last night, he knew that the brand of death was in his divine court. It was also an invisible existence. However, after he opened his meridians, he could sense it clearly. As long as he wanted to, he could activate it at any time. After activating his brand of death, he used his consciousness to envelop the woman and the woman's body. Originally, the woman had been using her willpower and strength to suppress the brand of death that was growing stronger. However, under Yang Wu's influence, she was finally unable to bear it any longer. The brand of death completely erupted, and the terrifying aura of a human king was released. The powerful energy instantly turned her tight black clothes to dust, and a perfect and flawless body was presented before him without any reservation. The large blood-red rose embroidered on her shoulder that took up half of her body was incomparably dazzling. Yang Wu took in this scene as much as he could, but he didn't have any bad thoughts. He only felt a chill because he could be directly crushed by this king's aura. Rise! Yang Wu shouted. He activated all the power in his body. A cicada robe quietly covered his body. The thickness of this cicada robe was no less than an ordinary general realm profound armor. It was even thicker than a layer of profound armor. As Yang Wu's realm increased, his defensive power naturally increased as well. However, he was still unable to form a profound armor, not because he didn't have enough strength, but because in order to form a profound armor, he had to open 365 acupoints. Even if Yang Wu's foundation was strong, he still couldn't break through this limit. The fact that he could forcefully condense the strong cicada robe was already not something that other warriors could compare to. Unfortunately, the king's aura was too terrifying. It directly swept him away from where he stood. Not only that, but the power of the brand of death also spread in all directions. The surrounding trees withered rapidly. Many weeds died on the spot. The black power was like a scythe of death. It was unstoppable. Little Hay, who was watching from afar, saw this scene and exclaimed, "This little girl has actually compressed the force of death to such a degree. It looks like she's planning something big. Not only does she want to control the will of death, but she also wants to form the flower of death into a higher realm. She's really bold. It's a pity that time waits for no one. I wonder if that kid can handle it?" Next, Little Hay leapt off the black steel bear. It seemed like it was flying, reaching a height of several dozen meters. When it reached a certain height, it spat out low-grade profound spirit stones, which fell around Yang Wu and the woman. At the same time, Little Hay's front claws continuously drew out strands of mysterious power, attacking the low-grade profound spirit stones in the surroundings. Before these profound spirit stones could even land on the ground, they were gathered together by Little Hay's power, forming a net of energy. In the end, it fell around Yang Wu and the woman, forcefully sealing off the king's aura that the woman had released. It did not allow the power to spread outwards. At the same time, it did not cause any other disturbances, causing the area to fall silent once more. Little Hay landed on the black steel bear's back once more. It seemed to have shrunk quite a bit as it murmured, "I'm too weak right now. I have to wait for that kid to grow up. Only then will my sealing power slowly fade away. It looks like I have to hurry up and let the kid grow up." The area where Yang Wu and the woman were had been sealed off by Little Hay's formation. The woman's brand of death had completely filled the area. If it could not be contained, the two of them would die. Yang Wu was forced to the edge of the formation by the power. It was like he had slammed into a wall, stuck at the edge of the formation. The thick robes on him had been ripped apart by the power, unable to defend against it at all. After losing the robes, he felt suffocated and uncomfortable. His body was squeezed to the point where blood seeped out. This was the might of a king's aura. Coupled with the power of the brand of death, even a general realm cultivator would not be able to withstand it. I don't believe that I can't withstand the power of a king's aura. Yang Wu gritted his teeth and let out a bellow. He mobilized all of his powers, and the battle blood in his body seethed. The will of death in his divine court was activated, completely resisting the power of a king's aura released by the woman. The combination of Yang Wu's battle will and the will of death also produced an indescribable aura. However, it still appeared to be too insignificant. Furthermore, the will of death came from the same source as the woman's brand of death. Finally, it absorbed the power of the brand of death on the woman's body and attacked him. The brand of death was actually the will of death corroding one's vitality. If it could not be controlled, it would threaten one's life. It would slowly devour one's life and accelerate one's death. If one could control it and turn it into their martial will, they would be able to unleash the profoundness of the way of death and achieve astonishing battle result. Yang Wu had withstood the feeling of the brand of death when he was at the battle skill steel of the King of Death. At that time, his peach core dantian had directly dissolved the power of death and integrated the will into his divine court. It did not cause any harm to him. At this moment, these more powerful brand of death seeped into his body and began to wreak havoc on his vitality, causing him even more pain and discomfort. Absorb it! Yang Wu threw caution to the wind. After he let out a roar, he quickly circulated the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula. His peach core dantian absorbed the power of the brand of death into his body. It was instantly purified and fed back to his divine court, strengthening his will of death. When Yang Wu released the suction force, the power of the brand of death, which came from the same source, used him as a vent and gushed toward him rapidly. A lot of power gushed into Yang Wu's body. If it had been an ordinary person, they would have exploded from the overwhelming power. However, the space in Yang Wu's peach core dantian was like a bottomless pit. It could absorb as much power as there was. Moreover, the speed at which the power was purified grew increasingly faster. Yang Wu's will of death was also increasing incessantly. If it was said that it was only the size of a little finger at the beginning, then it had now accumulated to the size of half a fist. In addition, the acupoints in Yang Wu's body had been forcibly broken through by 21 acupoints. In an instant, he had opened up 233 acupoints, saving him several days of cultivation. All of this did not stop. As Yang Wu shared a portion of the brand of death, the woman, who had been in unbearable pain, gradually relaxed. She sat cross-legged on the ground and forcibly circulated a battle art, wanting to suppress all the other brand of death. This was the foundation of her cultivation. Once she lost it, she would no longer have the will of death. This was the result she did not want. She wanted to use the brand of death to form the flower of Tao and completely grasp the way of death. However, all of this was no longer based on her will. Instead, the power of the brand of death had found a better place to reside. All of it surged toward Yang Wu. It was as if Yang Wu's will of death was the purest source. They were like swallows returning to their nest, no longer lingering on the woman's body. The woman woke up. First, she withdrew the ruler's force that she had released. She wanted to forcefully retain and suppress the brand of death that she had worked so hard to gather over the past few years, but it was useless. She opened her eyes and her cold gaze fell upon Yang Wu. Then, she looked at her naked body and her murderous intent surged. However, she discovered that there was a formation around her, which made her realize that the situation was not as simple as she had imagined. Then, a set of clothes suddenly appeared in her hand, which quickly wrapped up her graceful body tightly. Not a single bit of her body was exposed. Since you can absorb my brand of death, I might as well give it all to you. The woman's expression turned cold. After thinking this, she stopped suppressing the power of the brand of death and allowed it to be absorbed by Yang Wu. Yang Wu had unknowingly obtained this powerful brand of death. The will of death in his god's palace condensed above his god's spiritual aperture, forming a black flower bud. The flower of Tao.